What happens when the structures you have meticulously built, the very walls of the fortress you call I, begin to tremble and crack from within? Not from an outside force, not from a siege you can see, but from a deep, seismic shift in the very ground of your being. The career that once defined you feels like a hollow costume. The relationships that were your mirrors now reflect a stranger. The beliefs you held as bedrock have turned to sand, slipping through your fingers. There is a quiet hum of panic beneath the surface of your days, a sense of profound dislocation, as if you are playing a role in a script you no longer understand or believe in. You have followed the map provided by the world. You have ticked the boxes and climbed the ladders, yet you find yourself not at a summit, but at the edge of a cliff, with the wind whispering of an immense, terrifying emptiness. This is the silent collapse, the inner crumbling. It is the moment your soul refuses to continue the charade. This space, right here, right now, is not an answer. It is a sanctuary. It is a quiet room in a world of noise, a place to lay down your arms. You have been fighting for so long, fighting to keep the cracks from showing, fighting to uphold an image, fighting against a current of exhaustion that threatens to pull you under. Give yourself permission to stop. Allow the trembling. Allow the silence that follows the fall of a wall you have spent a lifetime defending. This is not a lecture, nor is it a sermon of empty promises. It is an invitation to sit in the rubble of what was and to listen, not to the frantic voice of the mind that demands you rebuild immediately, but to the deeper, quieter intelligence that has orchestrated this sacred demolition, because the collapse you fear is not a punishment. It is an act of grace. It is a violent, beautiful, and necessary intervention from the universe, or from your own highest self, to save you from a life that is too small for the person you are becoming. This journey is not about fixing what is broken. It is about discovering the unbreakable truth that is revealed only when everything else has fallen away. So breathe. Step into this stillness with me. Let us begin the work, not of reconstruction, but of excavation. Let us find what remains in the ruins. The tower has fallen. There was no single dramatic explosion, but a series of groaning, internal failures, a slow-motion surrender to a weight it could no longer bear. And now, silence. Not a peaceful silence, but a deafening one, thick with the dust of what used to be. This is the immediate aftermath. This is the moment you find yourself sitting in the rubble of your own life. The air itself feels heavy. Each particle a ghost of a belief, a memory, a future that will never be. The familiar symphony of your existence, the ambitions, the routines, the predictable cadence of your thoughts has ceased. All that remains is a low, resonant hum of shock. Your mind, a frantic survivor, scrambles through the debris. It tries to make lists, to assess the damage, to formulate a plan of action. It wants to call for help, to start clearing the wreckage, to begin rebuilding immediately, anything to escape this profound stillness. But your body will not obey. It feels as if lead has been poured into your veins. An immense, immovable gravity pins you to your seat. This is the great paradox of the initial collapse. The mind is screaming, a fire alarm in an empty building, while the body is in a state of deep, profound paralysis. You want to move, you know you should move, but you cannot. This is not laziness. This is not weakness. This is a wisdom deeper than thought, a wisdom held in your very cells, enacting a crucial, non-negotiable pause. You are in a sacred state of shock, a divinely mandated timeout. The frantic doing has ended, because the energy that fueled it, the ego's desperate need for control, for validation, for a stable identity, has been cut off at the source. The power plant has gone offline. The inner conflict is immense. There is the voice of the world, the voice of your conditioning, screaming at you. It calls you a failure. It tells you that to be still is to give up, that to rest now is to drown. It points to others who seem to be building their towers ever higher, their lights shining brightly against the sky. It whips you with shame and urgency, trying to jolt your limbs back into motion. It wants you to stand up, dust yourself off, and pretend the collapse never happened. It wants you to gather the same broken bricks, the same flawed materials, and start building the exact same prison, perhaps with a slightly different arrangement of windows. Then there is the other voice. It is not a voice of words, but a pressure, a knowing, a deep gravitational pull towards the earth. It is the wisdom that has initiated this collapse. It holds you in this paralysis, not as a punishment, but as a protection. It knows that if you were to move now, you would only move from a place of panic and fear. You would only recreate the patterns that led you here. This stillness, this inability to act, is a profound act of love from the universe. It is a firm but gentle hand on your shoulder saying, "Number, not this time. This time you will not run. This time you will sit. You will witness. You will feel." So let us surrender to this paralysis. Let us reframe it. It is not an anchor of despair. It is an anchor of presence. It is the only thing holding you, in the only place where true healing can begin, the here and now. Your task in this moment is not to fix, not to understand, not even to heal. Your only task is to be a silent witness to the landscape of your own inner world. Find a place to sit, it doesn't matter where. Now, resist the urge to do anything. Resist the urge to check your phone, to turn on a screen, to read a book, to distract yourself in any way. Just sit. Let the frantic thoughts come and go. Do not fight them. Do not engage with them. See them as dust motes dancing in the single shaft of light that penetrates the rubble. They are not you. They are merely the residue of the collapse. Now, bring your awareness to something simple, something tangible. Find one object in your field of vision, a crack in the ceiling, a leaf on a plant, the texture of the fabric on your chair. Do not name it. Do not analyze it. Simply pour your attention into it. Observe its lines, its colors, its shape. Let the seeing of it be your entire world for a moment. When the mind wanders, as it will, gently, without judgment, bring it back to that single point of focus. This is not about achieving a state of peace. This is about practicing the art of being present with what is. Or, bring your awareness to a sound, the hum of a refrigerator, the distant sound of traffic, the sound of your own breath. Do not label the sound good or bad. Just let it enter your ear canal. Let it be a vibration in the air. Allow it to be exactly as it is. You are the vast, silent space in which the sound is happening. Or, bring your awareness into your body. Feel the weight of your hands in your lap. Feel the points of contact between your body and the chair or the floor. Feel the subtle electric aliveness that hums beneath your skin. You may feel a heavy ache in your chest, a tightness in your throat, a hollowness in your stomach. Do not call it sadness or anxiety, just feel it as pure sensation. It is energy, trapped in the body from years of unfelt feelings. By placing your calm, non-judgmental awareness upon it, you are giving it permission to move, to release. This practice of sitting in the rubble is the most courageous thing you can do right now. The world will tell you it is passivity, but it is the highest form of action. It is the act of breaking a lifelong addiction to distraction and avoidance. It is the act of facing the void you have spent your life running from, only to discover it is not a void at all. It is a space, a clearing. As you sit, day after day, in this quiet observation, something begins to shift. The dust begins to settle. The deafening silence becomes less deafening and more spacious. In this emerging clarity, you begin to see things you couldn't see when the tower was standing. You see the faulty blueprints. You see the compromises you made, the truths you ignored. You see the parts of yourself you betrayed in order to keep the structure intact. You see that the collapse was not a sudden accident, but an inevitability. The structure was built on a foundation of fear, of not enoughness, of seeking validation from the outside. It was never meant to last. This stillness, this sacred pause, is a gift. It is the space between the exhalation and the inhalation. It is the winter of the soul, where the ground lies fallow, gathering strength for a spring you cannot yet imagine. Do not rush it. Do not fear it. The silence is your teacher. The paralysis is your protector. The rubble is your holy ground. For it is only here, in the quiet aftermath, when all the noise has died down, that you can begin to hear the whispers of who you truly are. And as you sit, a new question begins to form, not from the frantic mind, but from a deeper place. Who was the architect of this fallen tower? Who was this being, so desperate, so fearful, so insistent on maintaining this illusion? Let us sit with that question, for in the heart of the wreckage, we are about to meet the ghost in the machine. We are about to meet the ego. You sit in the silence of the wreckage, and a question rises from the dust. Who built this? Who was the architect so invested in this fragile tower, this structure of identity that is now crumbled? The answer is not a villain. It is not an enemy to be defeated. It is a ghost in the machine of your own consciousness. It is the ego. For now, let us not burden this word with complex psychology. Let us see it simply for what it is, the constructed self, the mask you have worn for so long that you forgot it was a mask. It is the story you have been telling yourself and the world about who you are. This ego, this phantom architect, is a masterful collage artist. It began its work in your earliest childhood. It took your given name, a sound, and declared, "This is me." It took the reflections in your parents' eyes, their praises and their disappointments, and wove them into the fabric of your worth. It took the rules of the schoolyard, the expectations of society, the triumphs and the traumas, and added them as patches to a vast and heavy cloak. Your job title became a badge of honor. Your relationships became defining clauses in your contract with the world. Your possessions became the furniture in the house of your identity. Even your pain, your wounds, your perceived flaws were collected by the ego and turned into a strange kind of credential, a story of survival that defined your limits and your strengths. The voice in your head, the one that never ever stops narrating, that is the voice of the ego. It is the tireless commentator, the judge, the critic, the worrier, the planner. It is the storyteller, and you have been its captivated audience. And now, the story has been interrupted. The set has collapsed, and the ego is in a state of absolute panic. It is screaming into the void, for its very existence is threatened. Without the tower to define its shape, without the walls of achievement and identity to lean against, it feels like it is dissolving, dying, and in a way it is. This is the source of the profound terror that accompanies collapse. It feels like death because a death is indeed occurring, the death of an illusion, the death of who you thought you were. Listen to its voice now, in the quiet of the rubble. It scrambles to cling to the broken pieces. But I am a provider, it insists, holding up a shard of a paycheck. But I am loved by this person, it cries, clutching a faded photograph from a relationship that no longer fits. I am a strong person, I am a survivor. I don't break down like this, it whispers desperately, trying to rebuild a wall with dust and echoes. This is the inner conflict, the raw, emerging truth of your formless being, versus the ego's terrified, frantic grasp on the forms of the past. To the ego, letting go of these labels feels like annihilation. It will fight, it will bargain, it will reason, it will trigger immense waves of fear and grief to get you to stop this process, to go back to the familiar misery, to the known prison. It prefers the certainty of a cage to the terrifying freedom of an open sky. Here is the most important message you will ever receive, the core truth that this collapse has come to deliver. You are not the ego. You are not the voice in your head. You are not your thoughts, your history, your job, or your pain. These are things you have experienced, but they are not the essence of you. You are the silent, spacious awareness that is witnessing all of it. You are the sky, vast and changeless, in which the clouds of thought and emotion drift by. You are the deep, still ocean, and the ego is merely the turbulent, chaotic activity on the surface. The collapse did not happen to you. It happened to the ego's construction. The real you, the timeless, formless consciousness that you are, is utterly unharmed. It is untouchable. The ego is a tool, not a master. It was designed as a survival mechanism for a young consciousness navigating a complex physical world. Its job was to create a boundary, a sense of I versus other, to keep you safe, and it did its job. But it was never meant to be in charge. The problem arose when consciousness fell asleep and began to believe it was the tool. The servant became the king, and a tyrant at that. A tyrant who demanded constant validation, who lived in perpetual fear, who built a fortress of identity that ultimately became a prison, cutting you off from the boundless reality of your true nature. The collapse is a system reboot. It is the machine shutting down the rogue program that was consuming all its resources. So, how do we work with this panicked ghost? We do not fight it. To fight the ego is to engage with it on its own terms, to give it the energy and importance it craves. Fighting it is just another ego game. Instead, we do something far more powerful. We watch it. We become the scientist of our own minds. This is your next practice. Find a notebook, a simple journal. Title it Observation Deck or Notes on the Ghost. For the next week, your only task is to become a curious, detached observer of the voice in your head. When you notice a strong, repetitive thought pattern, write it down. Listen for the sentences that begin with I am, or I must, or I should. I am a failure. I am unlovable. I must figure this out right now. I should be feeling better by now. Write them down, verbatim. Then, underneath each thought, ask these 3 questions. 1. Where did this belief come from? Is this truly my voice? Or is it an echo of a parent, a teacher, an ex-partner, a societal message? Trace its origin. You will be astonished at how few of these core beliefs are actually your own. 2. Who does this belief serve? Does it make me feel more expansive, free, and powerful? Or does it keep me small, afraid, and contained? Whose agenda is it supporting? 3. And this is the most crucial question. Is it true? Is it absolutely, fundamentally true that I am a failure? Or is it just a thought, a transient electrical impulse in my brain that I have become identified with? Can I find evidence to the contrary? In the simple act of questioning the thought, you create space between you and it. You cut the thread of identification. You are no longer the thought. You are the one looking at the thought. You are reclaiming your power as the witness. This practice is like cleaning a mirror that has been covered in grime for a lifetime. The ego is the dust, the dirt, the accumulated fingerprints of every judgment, every fear, every opinion you have ever absorbed. The collapse was the splash of water that shocked you into realizing the mirror was dirty. This journaling, this observation, is the slow, gentle act of wiping it clean. You are not trying to break the mirror. The mirror, your pure awareness, is indestructible. You are simply removing the layers of distortion so that for the first time you can see a true reflection. With each thought you observe without believing. With each judgment you witness without condemning. You wipe away another smudge. Glimpses of clarity will begin to appear. Moments of peace. A sense of a self that exists behind or beneath the constant mental chatter. Do not expect the voice to stop. The ego's job is to produce thoughts. Let it do its job. Your job is no longer to believe every single one of them. Your job is to observe. This is the great turning point of your awakening. You are shifting your identity from the contents of your mind to the container itself, the silent, aware space in which those contents appear. You are learning to rest as the witness. And as you become more comfortable in this role, you start to notice something extraordinary. You notice the silence between the thoughts. Before, it was imperceptible, a fleeting gap, but now it becomes more present. more noticeable. A quiet field of snow behind the flurry of a blizzard. That silence, that spaciousness, is not empty. It is full of peace, intelligence, and a profound sense of being. It is your true home. Recognizing the ego is the act of turning on the light in a room you thought was haunted. You see that the terrifying ghost was just a coat hanging on a door, casting a strange shadow. You are not the shadow. You are not the coat. You are the light that illuminates it all. Now, let us turn our attention away from the play of shadows and toward the source of the light itself. Let us explore the sanctuary that lies in the stillness between thoughts. As you learn to witness the ghost in the machine, as you begin to untangle your true self from the frantic storyteller of the ego, you become aware of something else. You become aware of the space between the thoughts. At first, it is just a fleeting gap, a microsecond of quiet between one mental sentence and the next. But the more you rest as the witness, the more this space begins to expand. This space is stillness. And for the modern soul, there is almost nothing more terrifying. We have been conditioned to fear the quiet, to abhor the void. Our entire civilization is a conspiracy against stillness, a grand and intricate machine designed to keep us perpetually distracted, entertained, and occupied. From the moment we wake, to the glow of a screen, to the moment we fall asleep to the drone of a podcast, we are immersed in a relentless river of noise. We fill every potential pause with something a scroll through a feed, a new task on a list, a worry about the future, a rumination on the past. We have become addicts of doing, of thinking, of becoming. Why? Because the ego, the phantom architect, thrives in noise. The constant activity validates its existence. The endless stream of problems to solve, opinions to have, and dramas to narrate gives it a sense of purpose. Stillness, on the other hand, is the ego's poison. In the quiet, the ego has nothing to push against, nothing to define itself with. Its voice begins to fade, its power begins to wane. And when the ego's voice softens, what rises from the depths? Everything we have been running from. The unresolved grief, the simmering anger, the deep loneliness, the uncomfortable truths we have papered over with busyness. The silence does not create these things. It simply allows us to finally hear them. It is an empty stage, and our suppressed emotions are ghosts waiting in the wings, finally given their cue to enter. This is the inner conflict at the heart of our resistance to peace. One part of you, the conditioned, addicted self, feels an almost unbearable itch in the silence. It is a physical restlessness, a low-grade panic that screams, "Do something, anything, to fill this space." It reaches for the phone like a lifeline. It manufactures a new worry to occupy the mind. It finds a sudden, urgent need to organize a drawer. It will do anything to avoid the discomfort of simply being. But there is another part of you, a deeper, wiser part. It is the part that is utterly, soul-deeply exhausted. It is weary from the performance, tired of the constant running. It has been whispering to you for years, in moments of quiet desperation, pleading for rest. Not just the physical rest of sleep, but a true Sabbath of the soul, a cessation of striving. The collapse you experienced was this part's final, desperate plea. A full system shutdown because its whispers went unheard for too long. Now is the time to honor that plea. We must radically reframe our understanding of stillness. Stillness is not emptiness, it is not a void, it is not boredom. Those are the ego's labels for a state it cannot control. Stillness is pure potential. It is the fertile darkness of the womb from which all of creation is born. It is the silent, unmanifest field from which every great insight, every true piece of art, every authentic impulse arises. Your most brilliant ideas have never come when you were frantically trying to think. They have arrived unbidden, in the shower, on a quiet walk, in the moment just before sleeping, moments of stillness. In the quiet, you do not lose yourself. You find yourself. You return to the source code, of your own being. Consider a lake. Most of the time, our minds are like a lake in a storm. The winds of anxiety, desire, and obsessive thought whip the surface into a chaotic frenzy. The water is churned up, murky with the sediment of past experiences and future fears. In this state, the lake can reflect nothing but its own turmoil. It is a closed system, trapped in a feedback loop of its own making. The practice of stillness is the conscious choice to let the winds die down. It is the willingness to sit by the shore and simply allow the storm to pass, without trying to command the winds to cease. This is your next practice. It is the practice of doing nothing. It is so simple that the ego will dismiss it as ridiculous, yet it is one of the most transformative things you can do. Set a timer for 5 minutes. That is all. Find a place where you can be relatively undisturbed. You can sit, you can stand, you can even lie down. And for those 5 minutes, your only task is to do nothing. Do not try to meditate. Let go of all your concepts about what meditation is or should be. Do not try to have a spiritual experience. Do not try to empty your mind or stop your thoughts. The thoughts will come, the restlessness will arise. Your job is not to fight them, but to simply notice them and gently, without judgment, return your attention to the act of doing nothing. Use your senses as an anchor in this stillness. What can you hear? Right now, if you just listen. Strip the labels away. Don't think car or bird or refrigerator. Just hear the vibrations, the tones, the textures of sound as pure sensory input. Feel the air on your skin. Is it cool or warm? Is there a breeze? Feel the points of contact where your body meets the world, your feet on the floor, your back against the chair. Let these physical sensations be your refuge when the mind tries to pull you into a story. This is not about escaping reality. It is about arriving in it, fully, for the first time. As you sit by the shore of your inner lake, allowing the winds to calm, two miraculous things happen. First, the sediment begins to settle. The murky water grows clear. The old, confusing thoughts and suppressed emotions that were stirred up in the storm begin to lose their charge. You can see them more clearly, not as a terrifying, chaotic mass, but as individual particles drifting gently to the bottom. They are still there, but they no longer obscure your vision. Second, and most profoundly, as the surface of the lake becomes calm and glassy, it begins to do what it was always meant to do. It begins to reflect the sky. Your mind, when still, ceases to be a frantic, self-obsessed entity. It becomes a perfect mirror for the vast, boundless, changeless reality of consciousness itself. It reflects the truth of your own being. You realize you are not the turbulent water, the murky sediment, or the passing storm. You are the vast, silent, all-encompassing sky that the water is reflecting. This sanctuary of stillness is always available to you. It is the silent background against which the noise of your life unfolds. It is underneath every thought, every emotion, every experience. It is your true home, your ultimate refuge. The collapse has cracked the door open for you. All you have to do is be willing to walk through it, to sit in the quiet room of your own being, even just for 5 minutes. As you become more accustomed to this inner quiet, as you find solace in the stillness, you begin to perceive something new. You notice that even in the deepest quiet, there is a kind of movement. It is not the frantic, chaotic movement of the mind's surface. It is a deeper, slower, more powerful current. It is the flow of energy through your body. It is the river of feeling. These are the emotions that the sediment represented. Now that the water is clear, you can finally perceive them, not as threats, but as a vital, intelligent current moving within you. Stillness has not eliminated them, it has revealed them. Let us now turn our attention to this sacred river and learn not to dam it, but to allow it to flow. As the silence of your inner sanctuary deepens, you begin to perceive the currents flowing beneath the surface. These currents are the lifeblood of your inner world. They are emotion. And for most of us, The immediate, instinctual reaction to this perception is to brace for impact, to manage, to control. From our earliest days, we were not taught to feel. We were taught to categorize. Joy, excitement, passion, these were labeled good. We learned to chase them, to cling to them, to display them as proof of our well-being. Anger, sadness, fear, grief, these were labeled bad. We learned to suppress them, to hide them, to apologize for them, to find a reason or a cure for them as if they were a sickness. We built intricate systems of denial and distraction to avoid their touch. Our entire personality is often a fortress constructed to keep these negative feelings at bay. The great collapse, the crumbling of your tower, is often the moment these systems fail. The dams you have spent a lifetime building to hold back the river of unfelt emotion can no longer withstand the pressure. And so the river is unleashed, a flood of grief for a life you thought you would have, a torrent of anger at injustices long buried, a tidal wave of fear about an unknown future. It feels overwhelming, chaotic, and dangerous. The ego, your inner manager, goes into overdrive. It treats this flood as a crisis to be solved. It frantically tries to analyze the water, asking, "Why am I feeling this? Whose fault is it? How do I make it stop?" It believes that if it can just find the right intellectual reason, the right story, it can contain the flood and restore order. This is the central conflict. The mind's desperate attempt to think its way out of a feeling versus the body's simple, profound need to feel its way through. It is an exhausting internal war. The mind generates endless stories about the emotion, creating complex narratives of blame, victimhood, and regret. These stories are like debris in the floodwaters, turning a clean flow of energy into a destructive slurry. You are not just feeling sadness, you are drowning in the story of why you are sad, a story that replays on an endless loop, deepening the grooves of your suffering. We must introduce a new, revolutionary understanding. Let us look at the word itself, emotion, energy in motion. That is all an emotion is. It is not good or bad. It is not you. It is simply impersonal, kinetic energy moving through the vessel of your body. It is a weather system passing through the vast, open sky of your awareness. When a dark rain cloud appears in the sky does not panic. It does not say, "I am a rain cloud." It does not try to fight the cloud or push it away. It simply provides the space for the cloud to be a cloud, to release its rain, and to drift on. The sky's nature is to be the silent, allowing space for all weather. Your true nature is the same. You are the sky, not the cloud. Your suffering does not come from the sadness, the anger, or the fear. Your suffering comes from your resistance to them. It comes from the tensing, the bracing, the story-making. When you resist a weather pattern, you create a hurricane. The river is another powerful way to understand this. For years, you have been trying to dam this river of feeling. Every time you said, "I'm fine," when you were not, you added a stone to the dam. Every time you distracted yourself from grief, you reinforced the wall. Every time you swallowed your anger, you packed more earth against the structure. It was an incredible feat of engineering, but it was built on a false premise, that a river can be stopped. The river of life, the river of feeling, never stops flowing. The collapse was the breaking of your dam. And while the initial flood feels destructive, it is also a liberation. It is the return to a natural state of flow. The task now is not to frantically rebuild the dam. The task is to learn how to swim. This requires a new kind of courage and a new set of tools. The first tool is to change your language, for language shapes reality. When the energy of sadness arises, instead of declaring, "I am sad," which creates a total and absolute identification, pause, take a breath, and state, with quiet curiosity, "I am aware of the energy of sadness moving through me," or "Sadness is present. Can you feel the difference?" In the first statement, you are the emotion. You are contained by it. In the second, you are the container. You are the spacious awareness in which the emotion is happening. This simple linguistic shift creates a profound space, a gap between the observer and the observed. It is in this space that freedom lies. The second tool is to drop out of your head and into your body. The mind tells stories, the body tells the truth. When a powerful emotion surges, the ego wants to go upward into the labyrinth of thought. Your practice is to go downward into the laboratory of the body. Stop what you are doing. Place a hand on your heart, or on your belly, or wherever the sensation is most pronounced. This physical touch is an act of profound compassion, like a mother placing a hand on a crying child. Close your eyes. Now breathe into the sensation. Do not try to change it. Do not wish it away. Simply feel it. Get curious about its purely physical qualities. Is it hot or cold? Is it sharp or dull? Does it feel like a buzzing, a pressure, a hollowness, a vibration? Meet the raw energy of the emotion before your mind has a chance to wrap a story around it. Your compassionate, non-judgmental attention is like the sun. It does not fight the ice. It simply shines upon it, and in that warmth, the ice naturally begins to melt and flow again. When you allow an emotion to be felt fully in the body, without resistance, it will complete its life cycle. It will rise, crest, and fall, all on its own. It might last for seconds, or for minutes. It might be intensely uncomfortable, but it will pass. It is the resistance, the damming, that causes an emotion to stagnate and fester for years, becoming a toxic, swampy part of your identity. By allowing the river to flow, you are purifying your entire energetic system. You are releasing ancient, trapped energy, making space for new life, new clarity, and new peace. This is not a passive act. It is an act of immense strength. It is the courage of the boatman who learns to navigate the rapids, not by fighting the current, but by becoming one with it, by using its power to steer. True emotional mastery is not the absence of difficult feelings. It is the ability to provide a safe and loving space for all feelings to exist and move through you. It is the end of the inner war. As you practice this radical allowance, as you permit the great river of feeling to flow unimpeded, you will expose something deeper still. You will unearth the bedrock of the ego's entire operation, the profound, primal fear of losing control. The ego, your inner manager, is terrified by this process of allowing because it is a complete and utter surrender of its authority. To admit that there are energies moving through you that are wilder, more intelligent, and more powerful than your conscious will is to abdicate the throne. This confrontation with the illusion of control is the next great gate on this journey. We have sat in the rubble, we have met the architect, we have stilled the lake and allowed the river to flow. Now, we must turn and face the master fear that has been driving the entire show from behind the curtain. The hands are clenched. Feel them right now. Perhaps not your physical hands, but the hands of the mind, the fists of the soul. They are white-knuckled, straining, holding on with a desperate force to the reins of a life you believe you are steering. This is the great illusion, the foundational belief upon which the fortress of the ego was built, the belief in control. You are the driver, the captain, the architect of your destiny. And the collapse, this terrifying, ground-shattering event, is the universe's final, undeniable lesson. It is the moment when the reins are ripped from your hands, not by an external force, but because you realize the horse was never there. The ship was always part of the ocean. The architecture was always subject to the wind and the rain. The collapse does not teach you that you have lost control. It teaches you that you never had it in the first place. This realization is not a punishment. It is an unburdening. The human instinct, forged over millennia of survival, is to manage the environment, to predict the storm, to store the food, to build the wall. This instinct served us. It kept us alive. But the ego co-opted this instinct and applied it to everything, not just to the physical world, but to the intangible, to love, to success, to happiness, to the very flow of life itself. The mind became a frantic project manager, creating endless charts and plans for a reality that is fundamentally wild and unplannable. It created a script and demanded that every other person, every event, every feeling follow it. The internal conflict that arises from this is a quiet, grinding war. It is the tension you feel in your shoulders, the shallow breath you take when things don't go according to plan. It is the exhausting, relentless effort of trying to nail the river to the riverbed. You want to map the clouds, you want to predict the exact shape of the next wave, and so you live in a constant state of resistance, a low-grade battle against the very nature of what is. You brace for impact, even in moments of peace. You strategize for conversations that may never happen. You rehearse arguments and acceptance speeches in the theater of your mind. This is the conflict, the ego's desperate need for certainty clashing with the soul's deep, unspoken knowledge that life is, and has always been, a dance with the unknown. The collapse is simply the moment the dance floor gives way, forcing you to finally stop pretending you knew the steps. And here, in the quiet aftermath, a new truth can finally be heard. Liberation does not come from gripping the reins tighter, from becoming a better strategist or a more ruthless manager of your reality. It comes from the complete and total release of your grip. It comes from opening the hand. Let go. These two words are perhaps the most misunderstood in any spiritual language. The ego hears "let go" and translates it as "give up." It screams of failure, of apathy, of becoming a passive victim to circumstance. But this is a profound distortion. Letting go is not passivity. It is the most powerful and active stance you can take. It is a conscious choice to stop fighting reality. It is an act of supreme trust. It is the surrender of the foot soldier who finally realizes he is part of the general's larger, wiser plan. What are you surrendering to? You are surrendering to the intelligence of life itself, an intelligence that choreographs the orbit of planets and the unfurling of a fern, an intelligence that beats your heart and digests your food without any conscious intervention from you. Do you truly believe that this vast cosmic intelligence is capable of managing galaxies, but needs your frantic, fearful micromanagement to handle your career or your relationships? To let go is to align yourself with this greater wisdom. It is to say, I have tried to force the door open. Now, I will wait for the key, or notice that the door was never locked at all. It is a declaration of trust over fear. Imagine you are at the shore, and you scoop up a handful of wet sand. This sand is your life, your problems, your desires, your future. The instinct is to clench your fist, to hold on, to possess it, to keep it all from slipping away. Squeeze it. Feel the imagined pressure. What happens? The tighter you squeeze, the faster the water and the fine grains of sand are forced out between your fingers. Your desperate attempt to keep it only hastens its departure. You are left with a strained hand and a gritty, diminished lump. This is the life lived through control. It is a life of strain, of loss, of diminishing returns. Now, see yourself opening your hand. Keep the palm soft, receptive. The sand rests there. It is not going anywhere. You can feel its weight, its texture, its coolness. You are not possessing it. You are holding a space for it. You are allowing it to be what it is. This is letting go. It is an open palm, not a clenched fist. When you live with an open palm, life can place things into it. Miracles, synchronicities, opportunities that your clenched fist would have blocked. You do not lose anything that was truly meant for you. You only lose the tension of trying to hold what was never yours to keep. This is not just a philosophy, it is a practice. So let us practice. Identify one small, specific area in your life where your fist is clenched. It could be a project at work, where you check every detail and try to manage every outcome. It could be a conversation you need to have, where you have already scripted every line and counter-argument. It could be your child's schedule, planned down to the minute. It could even be your own healing journey, where you are trying to force yourself to feel better on a specific timeline. Choose just one thing, and for one day, just one day, open your hand. Consciously decide to let it be. If it's the work project, trust your team. Do not check in, do not correct, observe. If it's the conversation, go into it with an intention, but no script. Listen more than you speak. If it's your child, let them be bored. Let them create their own games. Do not interfere. Notice what happens. First, you will feel the screaming resistance of the ego. The anxiety will rise. The what-ifs will thunder in your mind. This is the addiction to control, the withdrawal symptoms. Breathe through it. Stay with the practice. And then, notice what else happens. Perhaps your team comes up with a solution you never would have thought of. Perhaps the conversation flows to a place of unexpected honesty. Perhaps your child discovers a hidden talent in their moment of unstructured freedom. In your refusal to interfere, you create a vacuum. And the intelligence of life, the creativity of others, the natural unfolding of events will rush in to fill it. You will see, in this small experiment, that the world does not fall apart without your constant management. In fact, it often falls together in a way that is more graceful and intelligent than you could have ever planned. When you cease the desperate effort to control the future or repair the past, you are no longer mentally time traveling. You are pulled, inevitably and powerfully, out of the phantom worlds of yesterday and tomorrow and into the only place where life actually exists. By releasing the illusion of the reins, you do not fall into a void of chaos. You fall into the arms of this very moment. Your attention is no longer scattered, projecting forward and backward in time. It is gathered, here, now. You can finally feel the ground beneath your feet, the air entering your lungs. The constant, draining war is over. The frantic project manager has been sent on a permanent vacation. And in this newfound stillness, you find you have not been abandoned. You have simply arrived. The war for control is over. The hands, once clenched, have fallen open. And into this opening, a new territory reveals itself. It is not a destination you have arrived at, but a landscape that was here all along, obscured by the fog of your own striving. This is the present moment, the now. But the mind, conditioned for years, for a lifetime, does not easily rest here. It is a ghost ship, accustomed to drifting on the currents of time. Its anchor is gone, yet it continues to be pulled by the phantom tides of yesterday and the terrifying mirage of tomorrow. The mind has only two destinations it considers truly interesting: the past and the future. The past is a library of evidence, a collection of stories that the ego uses to define itself. It replays scenes of failure, of betrayal, of loss, not to heal them, but to reinforce a narrative of victimhood or regret. If only I had done this. Why did they do that to me? Each question is a hook that pulls you back, anchoring you in a sea of what is already gone. The suffering of your collapse is not just in the event itself. It is magnified 1,000 times by the mind's relentless commentary, by its insistence on rereading the book of yesterday, hoping for a different ending. The future is the mind's other playground, a realm of infinite possibility that it uses mostly for the rehearsal of fear. It projects worst-case scenarios, constructs elaborate architectures of anxiety, and prepares you for catastrophes that will, in all likelihood, never occur. What will happen to me? How will I survive? Will I ever be happy again? These thoughts feel like responsible preparation, but they are not. They are a form of self-torture. They are the act of suffering for events that have not happened. The mind does this because the simple, unadorned present moment is a threat to the ego's existence. The ego needs problems to solve, enemies to fight, and stories to tell. The now offers none of these. It offers only what is. And so, the great internal conflict after the release of control is this: the seductive, dramatic, and deeply ingrained habit of mental time travel versus the quiet, simple, and radical truth that your only point of power, the only place you can ever create, choose, or act is right here, in this singular, unfolding moment. To engage with the past is to wrestle with a ghost. To engage with the future is to fight a phantom. Both are unwinnable battles that leave you exhausted and powerless in the only arena that is real. Let this truth land with its full weight. The past is a memory. It is not real. It exists only as a neural pattern, a thought form appearing in the present. You cannot go back to it. You cannot change it. You cannot touch it. It is a ghost whose only power is the power you give it by believing it is still alive. The future is imagination. It is not real. It exists only as a projection, a fantasy created by the mind, also appearing in the present. You cannot live in it. You cannot guarantee it. It is a phantom, a mirage in the desert that dissolves as you approach. Life itself, the raw, undeniable force of your existence, is not in memory or imagination. Life is the feeling of air entering your lungs now. It is the pressure of the ground beneath you now. It is the sound you are hearing now. Life is always, only, now. And here is the most liberating secret of all. In the now, there are no problems. A problem is a mental construct. It requires time. It is a story you tell yourself that weaves together the regrets of the past and the fears of the future. I have no money is a problem. It lives in the future. Fear of bills and homelessness, and the past regret of choices that led you here. But what is the reality of the now? The reality is, I am sitting in a room. I am breathing. I have a situation that requires action. The story of the problem creates paralysis and suffering. The reality of the situation invites a clear, calm response. What is the one thing I can do right now? Make a call? Write a list? Take a walk? In the now, the overwhelming monster of the problem dissolves into a series of small, manageable, present-moment situations. Think of yourself as the captain of a ship caught in a violent storm. This storm is your collapse. All around you is chaos, wind, and towering waves. The port you sailed from, your past, is gone. You cannot see it. Worrying about the mistakes you made in that port, wishing you had loaded different cargo, is not only useless, it is dangerously distracting. The destination you were headed for, your future, is completely obscured by the storm. Trying to see it, trying to guarantee your arrival, is impossible. It breeds only anxiety and hopelessness. The mind of the panicked captain is fixed on the lost port and the invisible destination. But the mind of the wise captain is fixed on one thing, and one thing only: the ship, the tiller, and the wave that is rising right now. The task is not to get through the storm. That is a future-oriented problem, too big to handle. The task is to steer through this wave. That is a present-moment situation. Place your hands on the tiller, feel the wood, brace your feet on the deck, watch the approaching wall of water. Turn the bow to meet it. You rise, you crest, you fall. You survived that wave. And now, another is coming. Steer through this one, then the next. This is how you navigate the storm. Not by thinking your way out of it, but by living your way through it, one present moment, one wave at a time. This is the anchor of the now. It does not stop the storm, but it holds you steady within it. So how do we drop this anchor, especially when the winds of panic are howling? We do it by force. We do it by hijacking the mind's attention and dragging it back into the body, back into the senses. This is a practice, a discipline. It is an emergency brake for mental time travel. Right now, wherever you are, engage in this practice. Do it with your full attention. Name, either out loud or in your mind, 5 separate things you can see. Do not just glance, truly see them. The specific shade of blue in a book's cover. The way light reflects off a glass of water. The delicate pattern in the wood grain of a table. The intricate shape of a single leaf. The dust motes dancing in a sunbeam. Bring your mind into your eyes. Now, bring your awareness to 4 things you can physically feel. the texture of the fabric on your skin, the solid pressure of the chair supporting you, the subtle movement of air on your cheek, the weight of your own hands resting in your lap. Feel the sensations as raw data, without story. This is what is real. Next, listen. Isolate. 3 things you can hear, not the symphony of noise, but individual sounds. The distant hum of traffic, the ticking of a clock, the sound of your own breathing. Let each sound be a discrete event, an anchor pulling you deeper into the now. Now, what are 2 things you can smell? Perhaps the faint scent of coffee, or the clean smell of soap on your skin, or the earthy aroma of rain outside. The sense of smell is ancient and bypasses the thinking mind, taking you directly into the present. Finally, bring your awareness to 1 thing you can taste. Maybe the lingering taste of your last meal, or just the neutral, subtle taste of your own mouth. Or take a sip of water and taste it as if for the first time. In this moment of complete sensory engagement, where was the past? Where was the future? They were gone. For a few precious seconds, you were fully, completely here. You were anchored. This is not a one-time fix. This is your new practice. This is your tool. Every time you feel the pull of regret or the cold grip of anxiety, drop the anchor. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Pull yourself out of the phantom world of thought and back into the living world of the senses. Living this way, anchored in the present, a profound shift begins. The deafening noise of the ego's commentary starts to fade. The frantic, time-traveling mind grows quiet. And in that emerging silence, you begin to perceive a different kind of intelligence, a different form of communication. It is not a voice made of words. It does not speak of yesterday or tomorrow. It speaks the language of sensation, of energy, of instinct. It is the voice of your own body, a wisdom you have been ignoring for a lifetime. You have dropped the anchor of the now, and the frantic storm of the mind has begun to subside. In the profound quiet that follows, a quiet you may not have experienced since early childhood, you begin to notice something else. A subtle, persistent, and deeply intelligent form of communication that has been speaking to you your entire life, drowned out by the noise of your thoughts. It is the wisdom of your body. For most of modern life, we have been living as if we were decapitated. We exist from the neck up, in the brightly lit, logical, chaotic corridors of the mind. The body has been relegated to the role of a vehicle, a machine we use to carry our brains from one meeting to another. It is a thing to be disciplined, fed, medicated, and sculpted. When it cries out in pain, we numb it. When it signals exhaustion, we caffeinate it. When it sends a shiver of intuition down our spine, we dismiss it as irrational. We have become strangers to our own physical selves, tenants in a house whose language we no longer understand. We have ignored its whispers, its murmurs, its pleas, and its warnings, and so, to get our attention, it has finally had to scream. The collapse is often that scream. This disconnect is not your fault. It is a deep cultural conditioning. We are trained to worship at the altar of logic and reason. We are taught that truth is something that can be proven with facts, articulated in spreadsheets, and debated with words. The body, on the other hand, is messy. It is the source of uncomfortable emotions, unpredictable illnesses, and the undeniable reality of aging and death. The ego is terrified of it. So it creates a schism, a split between the clean world of thought and the messy world of flesh and bone. This creates a fundamental internal conflict, a silent battle waged daily within you. It is the conflict between your head and your gut. Your mind presents a logical argument. This job is perfect. It pays well. It's secure. The title is prestigious. It has a list of pros that far outweighs the cons. Yet, every morning as you prepare for this job, you feel a cold, heavy knot in the pit of your stomach. Your shoulders are tight, your jaw is clenched. Your body is screaming, no, in a language your mind refuses to acknowledge. Or perhaps it's a new relationship. On paper, the person is flawless. They are kind, attractive, and everyone approves. But when you are with them, you feel a subtle sense of being drained, a feeling of contraction in your chest, as if you cannot take a full breath. Your logical mind will argue, it will rationalize, it will call you foolish. The conflict is choosing which voice to trust, the articulate, well-reasoned liar of the intellect, or the silent, non-verbal truth teller of the body. Here is the core message, the key that unlocks this new way of being. Your body does not lie, ever. It cannot. It is a finely tuned, incredibly sensitive instrument of resonance. It is an antenna, constantly receiving and processing vast amounts of data from your environment that your conscious mind, with its narrow focus, simply misses. It is your direct, uncorrupted connection to the truth. Its language is not words, its language is energy, expressed through physical sensation. This is your new vocabulary, and it is far simpler and more reliable than any human tongue. It is a binary code of expansion and contraction. When you consider a thought, a choice, a person, or a path that is in true alignment with your deepest self, your body responds with a sensation of opening. It might feel like warmth in your chest, a sense of lightness, a sudden desire to breathe more deeply, a feeling of relief. This is expansion. This is a somatic yes. Conversely, when you consider something that is out of alignment, something not for you, your body responds with a sensation of closing down. It might feel like a tightness in your throat, a clenching in your gut, a sudden chill, a feeling of inexplicable heaviness. This is contraction. This is a somatic no. This internal compass is more trustworthy than all the pro-con lists in the world, because it is not influenced by fear, by social pressure, or by the ego's desire for status. It is simply reflecting energetic truth. Consider a wild animal, a deer in the forest. The deer does not carry a mental checklist of potential threats. It does not engage in complex risk analysis. Its survival depends on a much faster, more primal intelligence. It stands in a clearing, and suddenly, its head snaps up, its muscles tense, its ears pivot. It has not necessarily seen or heard the predator. It has felt it. It has sensed a shift in the energetic field of the forest, a dissonant frequency that signals danger. It does not pause to question this feeling. It does not accuse itself of being paranoid. It does not wait for logical proof. In the same instant it feels the shift, it is gone, bounding into the safety of the trees. This absolute, unwavering trust in its bodily wisdom is the key to its existence. You are that animal. You were born with this same exquisitely sensitive, energetic compass. But you were domesticated. You were taught to ignore the rustle in the bushes, to suppress the instinctual tightening in your gut, and to wait for the predator to be standing right in front of you before you reacted. The collapse is a rewilding. It is a tearing down of the fences of conditioning, forcing you to reclaim the primal, bodily intelligence that is your birthright. This is a skill you can cultivate. It begins with practice, with intention. Before you make your next decision, no matter how small, pause. Close your eyes for just a moment. Take a breath. Now, bring the first option into your mind. For example, the choice is to attend a social gathering tonight. In your mind, clearly state, I am going to the party tonight. Now, immediately drop your awareness out of your head and into your body. Do a quick scan. What is the very first, instantaneous sensation in your throat, your chest, your stomach? Is there a subtle clenching, a feeling of weight, a sense of dread? Do not judge it or analyze it. Just notice it. That is your answer. Now clear the slate, take another breath, and state the second option. I am staying home tonight. Again, immediately drop into your body. What do you feel now? Is there a release in your shoulders? A sense of warmth spreading through your chest? A feeling of quiet relief? Trust this. Trust the first, unfiltered physical response before the mind has time to jump in with its buts and shoulds. The mind will say, but you should go. People will miss you. The body simply says no with a feeling of heaviness. The mind will say, but you will be bored at home. The body simply says yes with a feeling of lightness. Your only task is to learn to listen to the body's one-word answer and to trust it more than you trust the mind's convoluted paragraphs. As you begin to practice this, as you start to honor the wisdom of this internal compass, something remarkable will happen. You will start to realize that your body is not just reacting to your own thoughts, it is reacting to the world around you. You will walk into a room and feel its energy, the invisible emotional residue left by the people who were there before. You will be in conversation with someone, and while their words are pleasant, you will feel a distinct contraction in your gut, sensing the incongruity, the unspoken truth beneath the surface. You will realize that you are not an isolated, disconnected entity. You are a resonator, a tuning fork, constantly vibrating in response to the frequencies around you. You are part of a vast, unseen field of energy. This discovery, this direct experience, moves you from a life of theory to a life of feeling. You are no longer just an intellect guessing your way through the world. You are a sensing organism, navigating reality with a newly awakened and profoundly reliable intelligence. You are beginning to understand the very fabric of the universe, not as solid matter, but as a dynamic ocean of vibration. Your body, you now understand, is an antenna. It is a finely tuned instrument of perception, speaking a silent language of expansion and contraction. But an antenna, by its very nature, must be receiving a signal. A resonator must be vibrating in response to something. As you sit in the stillness you have cultivated, you begin to sense the source. It is the vast, unseen ocean of energy in which you and everything else perpetually swims. To the logical mind, the mind conditioned by a world of solid objects and separate beings, this sounds like fantasy. The inner skeptic, the voice of pure materialism, rises up in protest. It demands proof, data, measurable evidence. It scoffs at words like energy and vibration as the vocabulary of wishful thinking. This skepticism is not wrong. It is simply limited. It is the perspective of a person standing on the shore, insisting the ocean is only the tiny patch of water they can see, ignorant of the immense, interconnected depths that lie beyond the horizon. But even the world of logic, the world of science, now points to this truth. At the subatomic level, the hardest rock, the densest metal, the very chair you are sitting on, dissolves into a cloud of vibrating particles and vast empty space. Solid matter is an illusion, a trick of the senses. The universe is not a collection of things. It is a symphony of frequencies. This creates a profound internal conflict. You live with a foot in two different worlds. One is the tangible world of bills to pay, of bodies that get sick, of clocks that tick. It is the world of cause and effect, of action and consequence. The other is the invisible world you are now beginning to perceive. The world of energy, of intuition, of resonance. A world where your internal state of being seems to magically influence the events of your life. This conflict is confusing. You work hard to earn money, yet your deepest feelings of lack seem to repel financial opportunity. You try to build a relationship through communication and compromise, yet an unspoken, discordant energy between you and the other person makes connection impossible. Your mind, trained in the old paradigm, tries to fix the external. It tells you to work harder, to talk more, to do more. But your emerging awareness senses that the real creative power lies not in the visible world of action, but in the invisible world of your own being, your own personal frequency. The battle is between what you have been taught to believe is real and what you are now beginning to feel is true. The core message, the foundational law of this unseen ocean is this: everything is energy, and all energy vibrates at a specific frequency. You are not a solid body. You are a field of energy, a complex symphony of vibrations. And the most powerful vibrations within your field are your emotions. Every emotion has a distinct frequency. Think of it as a ladder. At the very bottom are the dense, slow, heavy frequencies of shame, guilt, and apathy. They feel heavy because they are heavy. They vibrate slowly. Moving up the ladder, you find fear, which has more energy but is chaotic and constricting. Above that is anger, which has a great deal of forceful energy, but is discordant and aggressive. Then comes a major leap, courage. The frequency of courage is the gateway to empowerment. Above that, you find the more coherent and harmonious frequencies of neutrality, willingness, and acceptance. And at the very top of the ladder are the fastest, lightest, most powerful frequencies of all: love, joy, peace, and gratitude. You are broadcasting your dominant frequency into the universe at every moment. And the universe, which is neutral and impersonal, operates on one simple law: like attracts like. Your vibrational output magnetically attracts experiences, people, and circumstances that are a perfect match for that frequency. This is not a reward or a punishment, it is physics. You cannot feel shame and attract joyful experiences. You cannot radiate fear and attract opportunities for secure abundance. It is an energetic impossibility. You are a magnet, and your life is the metal filings arranging themselves perfectly around the invisible field of your own being. This is why your life has often felt like a self-fulfilling prophecy. When you are caught in a cycle of fear, you make choices from a place of fear. You perceive the world through a lens of fear, and you attract other fearful people and situations, all of which confirm your original belief that the world is a scary place. The metaphor that makes this simple is a radio tuner. Imagine that reality is a cosmic radio station, broadcasting on an infinite number of channels simultaneously. There is a channel for struggle and conflict. There is a channel for lack and despair. There is a channel for neutral observation. There is a channel for loving connection. There is a channel for joyful abundance. And there is a channel for profound peace. The life you are experiencing is not random. It is simply the station you are tuned to. If your personal frequency, your emotional state, is set to 91.1 AM, the frequency of anxiety, you cannot possibly hear the beautiful symphony being broadcast on 102.5 FM, the frequency of peace. The symphony of peace is still playing. The universe is not withholding it from you. You are simply not tuned to its wavelength. The work of changing your life is not about begging the radio station to change its broadcast. It is not about screaming at the radio because you don't like the song that's playing. It is about deliberately, consciously, reaching out and turning your own internal dial. You must change your own frequency to receive a different broadcast. How do you turn the dial? How do you consciously raise your vibration? You do it by intentionally generating the emotions at the top of the ladder. The simplest and most powerful of these is gratitude. This is your practical application, your daily vibrational hygiene. Every morning, before your mind has a chance to tune itself to the familiar station of worry or obligation, dedicate 5 minutes to a gratitude practice. This is not an intellectual exercise of listing things you should be grateful for. It is an act of emotional generation. Sit down, close your eyes, and call to mind 3 specific things you genuinely appreciate. They can be incredibly simple: the warmth of the sun on your skin, the taste of your first sip of coffee, the fact that your heart is beating without any effort from you, the sound of a bird outside your window. Now, pick one of these. Let's say it's the warmth of the sun. Don't just think about it. Feel it. Remember the sensation. Let that feeling of simple, warm pleasure fill your chest. Let it expand into your arms and legs. Dwell in the pure physical sensation of gratitude. Breathe it in. Let it saturate every cell of your being. Marinate in that feeling. When your mind wanders, gently bring it back to the feeling. Do this for 5 minutes. In those 5 minutes, you are not just thinking positive thoughts. You are actively turning your energetic dial from a lower, contracted frequency to a higher, more expanded one. You are recalibrating your magnetic field. You are choosing your broadcast for the day. You are telling the universe which reality you wish to experience. When you begin to understand life as a game of vibration, the entire concept of creating your reality shifts. The popular idea of the law of attraction is often misunderstood as a process of desperate wanting. People write down what they want, they visualize what they want, they chant what they want. But the very energy of wanting is a powerful declaration of lack. To want something is to vibrate at the frequency of its absence. You cannot tune to the station of abundance by broadcasting a signal of lack. It is an energetic contradiction. This leads to a profound realization. The secret is not to attract what you want. The secret is to become what you want to experience. You do not attract abundance. You become abundant by cultivating feelings of gratitude and generosity. You do not attract love. You become love by radiating compassion and acceptance. You do not attract peace. You become peace by anchoring yourself in the present moment. This is the art of becoming, the essence of true manifestation. It is a shift from striving to being, from seeking to radiating. You are no longer a beggar asking the universe for scraps. You are a sun, and your world is the solar system that naturally arranges itself around your light. You have felt the unseen ocean of vibration, the cosmic law that like attracts like. This understanding often leads directly to the popular concept of the law of attraction, a seductive promise that has captivated and frustrated millions. Perhaps you have tried it. You have created vision boards, recited affirmations, and spent hours visualizing the life you desire, the partner you crave, the success you deserve. And perhaps, like so many others, you have been met with a deafening silence, a frustrating lack of results that left you feeling like a failure, as if the universe were working for everyone but you. This disillusionment is a crucial part of the journey, because it forces you to look deeper, beyond the superficial understanding of manifestation. The common teaching has been corrupted by the ego. It has been turned into a cosmic vending machine, a magical tool for acquiring material things to soothe a sense of inner lack. But the universe is not a catalog. Positive thinking fails when it is merely a thin, brittle layer of paint slapped over a deep, foundational belief of unworthiness. You can shout, "I am abundant to the heavens" all day. But if your nervous system, your body, your very energy field is vibrating with the frequency of fear and lack, the universe doesn't hear your words. It feels your music, and it responds to the music, not the lyrics. Herein lies one of the most profound internal conflicts of the spiritual path: the drive to get versus the calling to be. The world you were raised in is a world of getting. Go get an education. Go get a job. Go get a spouse. Go get a house. It is a paradigm of external pursuit, of chasing, grasping, and acquiring. It operates on the assumption that happiness is a destination reached by accumulating enough things or experiences on the outside. This is the ego's game, the hungry ghost, always consuming, never satisfied. But the truth of the universe, the truth your soul knows, operates on the opposite principle. It is a paradigm of being. It knows that everything you are chasing on the outside is actually an internal state you wish to experience. The internal conflict is the grinding friction between these two opposing forces. It is the exhaustion you feel from constantly chasing, contrasted with the deep, quiet pull of your soul inviting you to simply stop, turn inward, and cultivate the very feeling you are seeking. Society tells you, your salvation is out there. Go get it. The universe whispers, your salvation is in here. Come be it. Let this be the message that rewrites everything you thought you knew about creating your reality. You do not attract what you want. You attract what you are. The universe is not a servant that responds to your wishes. It is a mirror that reflects your being. Let go of the word want entirely. To want something is to vibrate at the frequency of its absence. It is a powerful declaration to the universe that you do not have it. It is an energy of lack. Instead, focus on your state of being. The most common mistake is to focus on the object, the specific manifestation. You want a new car. Why? Dig deeper. It is not about the metal and the rubber. You believe the car will give you a feeling. Perhaps the feeling of freedom, of being able to go anywhere. Perhaps the feeling of abundance, of success. Perhaps the feeling of security, of reliability. Freedom, abundance, security, these are states of being. They are energetic frequencies. The art of true manifestation is not to obsess over the car, but to obsess over embodying the frequency of freedom, abundance, and security right now in your current circumstances. How can you feel free today, even without the car? By taking a walk in a new neighborhood? By clearing your schedule of a non-essential obligation? How can you feel abundant today? By savoring your meal? By being generous with a compliment? By feeling grateful for the air you breathe? When you successfully generate the feeling state of what you desire, you become a vibrational match for it. The external form through which that feeling is delivered, whether it's a car, a new job, or something else entirely, is the universe's business. Your only business is your being. The prize is not the thing. The prize is the state of being you cultivated to get there. Imagine a lighthouse standing on a rocky shore. It is tall, strong, rooted in the earth. Its purpose is singular, to shine its light. The lighthouse does not worry about which ships are out on the sea. It does not chase after them, trying to guide them to safety. It does not fret if a ship chooses to ignore its light and sail another course. It does not diminish its own light on foggy nights because it feels unworthy. It has only one function, one sacred duty: to be a lighthouse. It stands still, it holds its ground, and it shines. And by this simple, unwavering act of being, it becomes a beacon of hope, a point of navigation, a symbol of safety. The ships are naturally drawn to its light. They orient themselves by its presence. It serves them by being true to its own nature. You are that lighthouse. Your soul's purpose is not to run around the island of life, chasing after the ships of love, abundance, and success. Your purpose is to stand still, to root yourself in your own truth, and to shine the light of your own unique being. Stop chasing, start shining. Tend to your light, and the ships will find their way to your shore. This is the art of becoming, and it is a practice. So let us make it practical. Take out a piece of paper or open a document. At the top, do not write what I want to have. Instead, write who I am becoming. Let go of the nouns, the objects. Focus on the adjectives, the qualities of being. Perhaps you write, I am becoming courageous. I am becoming peaceful. I am becoming financially secure. I am becoming a loving and forgiving person. Create a list, not of acquisitions, but of embodiments. This is your new vision board, a vision board for your soul. Now, this is the most crucial step. Beneath each statement of being, you must write a corresponding action. An action you can take today or this week that is a physical demonstration of that quality. If you have written, I am becoming courageous, your action might be, I will make the phone call I have been avoiding. If you have written, I am becoming peaceful, your action might be, I will commit to sitting in silence for 10 minutes every morning without my phone. If you have written, I am becoming financially secure, your action might be, I will create a clear budget and review my spending, or I will learn about a new form of investment. This is how you bridge the gap between the invisible and the visible. You choose a state of being, and then you perform an action that proves to yourself and to the universe that you are serious. You are aligning your thoughts, your feelings, and your actions. You are becoming the lighthouse by building it, stone by stone. As you embark on this path of conscious becoming, you will inevitably come face to face with everything inside of you that is not that new version of yourself. When you declare, I am becoming peaceful, all of your inner turmoil, your anger, and your anxiety will rise to the surface to be seen. It will demand your attention, screaming, what about me? You cannot be peaceful, because I am here. When you declare, I am becoming a loving person, you will suddenly become acutely aware of the cold, hard stones of judgment and resentment that you still carry in your heart. This is not a sign of failure. It is a sign that the process is working. The light of your new intention is illuminating the darkness within. It is revealing the parts of you that are ready to be healed and released. To truly become this new version of yourself, you cannot simply paint over these old energies. You must meet them. You must face the ghosts of your past. You must be willing to shatter the chains of yesterday. In the brave attempt to become a new version of yourself, to embody peace and courage and love, you have come up against the inner walls. You have met the parts of you that resist this new becoming. And as the light of your intention grows brighter, it illuminates the heaviest chains that bind you to the past, the chains forged from the cold, hard steel of resentment. A grudge is not just a feeling. It is a place. It is a room you build in your mind, a prison cell where you voluntarily spend your days, endlessly replaying the film of an old hurt. In this dark theater, you are the prosecutor, the judge, and the jury, and the trial never ends. The evidence is always fresh. The wound is always open, because you are the one who keeps reopening it with the sharp edge of your own memory. You believe you are holding the other person captive in this prison, but the door has been open all along. The only person truly locked inside is you. Why do we cling so tightly to these instruments of our own torture? It is not because we are masochistic. We cling to them because the story of our hurt has become a cornerstone of our identity. The narrative of what they did to me provides the ego with a powerful sense of self. It creates a story in which we are the righteous victim, the martyr, the one who was wronged. This story feels validating. It gives us a sense of moral superiority, a justification for our pain. To let go of the grudge feels like letting go of a part of ourselves. It feels like letting the other person win, like letting them get away with it. This is rooted in a profound misunderstanding of what forgiveness is. We have been taught that to forgive is to condone, that it means saying, what you did was okay. This is absolutely false. Forgiveness does not erase the event. It does not excuse the behavior. It does not require you to forget the lesson. And it certainly does not mean you must reconcile with the person who harmed you or allow them back into your life. Forgiveness is not about them at all. It is an internal act of spiritual hygiene. It is the decision to stop carrying the crime scene around with you 24 hours a day. The internal conflict is a brutal war between the ego and the soul. The ego sees the grudge as both a shield and a weapon. As a shield, it believes that holding on to the anger will protect you from being hurt again. It says, never forget, stay angry, it will keep you safe. As a weapon, the ego believes that the force of your resentment is somehow magically punishing the other person. It imagines that your anger is a psychic arrow, flying through the ether and causing them pain. But this is a delusion. The soul knows the truth. The soul feels the crushing, exhausting weight of this anger. It feels the poison of bitterness seeping into every corner of your life, tainting new joys, casting a shadow over present moments. The soul knows that the grudge is not a shield, but a cage that keeps love out. It knows it is not a weapon, but a self-inflicted wound. The conflict is this. The ego screams for justice, for retribution, for the past to be different than it was. The soul whispers for freedom, for peace, for the present moment to be finally liberated from the tyranny of yesterday. Let this core message shatter the chains. There is an old saying, to hold a grudge is to drink poison and hope the other person dies. Read those words again. Let them sink into your bones. When you hold on to resentment, you are the one drinking the poison. You are the one marinating your own cells in the stress hormones of anger and hatred. You are the one whose sleep is disturbed, whose blood pressure rises, whose joy is diminished. The person who hurt you has most likely moved on. They are not thinking about you. They are not drinking the poison. You are. Forgiveness, then, is not some lofty, saintly act of grace bestowed upon another. Forgiveness is the ultimate act of self-preservation. It is the moment you decide to put down the cup of poison. It is the moment you declare, "My peace of mind is more important than being right. My freedom is more valuable than this story. I will no longer allow what happened in the past to destroy my present." It is you, taking your power back from the event. Forgiveness is not weakness. It is the pinnacle of strength. It is the final, sovereign decision to be free. Imagine you are walking and you come across a fire. In the embers, there is a single glowing hot coal. This coal represents the hurt, the injustice that was done to you. In a moment of anger, you reach down and snatch it up, intending to throw it at the person who started the fire. But they are already gone, far down the path, out of sight. And you are left standing there, alone, with this searing coal in your hand. Your palm is blistering. The pain is intense, consuming your entire awareness. You are so focused on the coal, on the pain, on the person you want to throw it at, that you don't see the beautiful forest around you. You don't feel the sun on your face. You don't hear the birds singing. Your entire reality has shrunk to this one point of burning agony. Holding on to a grudge is exactly this. You are the only one being burned. The only sane action, the only possible path to relief, is to simply open your hand, drop the coal, let it fall to the earth. The moment you let go, the searing stops. Yes, there is a burn mark on your palm. A scar may remain. You don't deny the injury, but you are no longer actively burning yourself. By dropping the coal, you are free to tend to your own wound and to continue your journey. This is a practice. You can do this right now. Find a quiet space where you will not be disturbed. Close your eyes, take a few deep breaths, and allow your body to relax. Now, in your mind's eye, gently allow the image of the person you hold a grudge against to appear before you. See them not as a monster, but simply as a person, flawed and wounded just like you. Do not engage with the story of what happened. Simply see them standing there. Now, speaking silently from your heart, say these words to them. I see the pain this story has caused me. I see the weight I have been carrying. Take a breath. Then say, for the sake of my own soul, for the freedom of my own heart, I release you. Take another breath. And finally, say, I release myself from this prison of the past. I choose peace instead of this. Feel the vibration of those words. You may not feel a dramatic shift. That is okay. This is not about a sudden miracle. It is about planting a seed. It is about a subtle loosening of the knot in your stomach, a small release of tension in your shoulders. Repeat this practice whenever you feel the anger or resentment rise up. Repeat it like a sacred mantra. I release you. I release myself. I choose peace. Each time you do it, you loosen the chains. Each time you drop the hot coal, even if just for a moment, until one day you realize you are no longer carrying it at all. As you practice releasing others from the debts you believe they owe you, you may discover something startling. You may find that forgiving a friend, a parent, a partner is difficult but possible. But there is one person whose name comes up that feels almost impossible to release. One person who you judge more harshly than anyone else, whose mistakes you replay with meticulous and cruel detail. As you go deeper into this work of shattering the chains of the past, you realize that the heaviest chain of all is the one that binds you to your own perceived failures. You discover that forgiving others was merely the training ground for the final, most crucial act of liberation, forgiving yourself. You have walked through the fire of resentment, practicing the sacred art of releasing others from the debts you believed they owed you. You have begun to drop the hot coals of past hurts, one by one. In this courageous work, you may have found a measure of peace, a lightening of your spirit. But now, you arrive at the final door, the one that is heaviest and most fiercely guarded. And as you turn the key, you discover the warden of the most brutal prison, the holder of the most relentless grudge, has been you all along. Within your mind lives a judge who never sleeps, a critic whose voice is more intimate and more cruel than any external foe. It is the voice that whispers your failures back to you in the dead of night, the one that keeps a meticulous, detailed record of every mistake, every misstep, every moment of weakness. This is the voice of self-judgment, and its primary weapons are guilt and shame. Guilt is the voice that says, "You did a bad thing." Shame is the voice that says, "You are bad." And the collapse, this great unraveling, has been a feast for this inner critic, confirming its deepest, darkest verdict, that you are flawed, you are broken, and it is all your fault. This inner critic was not born with you, it was installed. It is the internalized voice of a parent who demanded perfection, a teacher who emphasized failure, a society that celebrates winners and shames losers. You adopted this harsh voice as your own, believing it served a noble purpose. You believed it was the voice of your conscience, a necessary force to keep you in line, to motivate you to do better, to prevent you from repeating your mistakes. You thought that by punishing yourself, you could control yourself. And so a devastating internal conflict was born. It is the war between the part of you that believes you must pay for your sins and the part of you that is crying out for grace. The punitive part of you insists on a price. It demands penance. It believes that self-flagellation is a form of justice, that by remaining in a state of guilt and shame, you are somehow atoning for your past. It is terrified that if you let yourself off the hook, you will become lazy, reckless, and unworthy. It believes punishment is the only path to improvement. But your soul, the deeper, wiser essence of your being, knows the truth. It knows that punishment has never, not once in the history of the human heart, led to genuine healing or growth. It knows that judgment only deepens the wound, that shame is a cage that prevents all movement, and that this endless cycle of self-attack is the very thing blocking you from becoming the person you long to be. The time for this war to end is now. The key to unlocking your own prison cell is this core message, a truth so simple and so profound that the ego will fight it with all its might. You did the best that you could with the level of awareness that you had at the time. Read that again. Let it bypass your critical mind and sink directly into your heart. This is not an excuse. It is not a free pass. It is a radical act of contextual understanding. At every moment of your past, you were operating with a specific set of tools, beliefs, emotional wounds, and a certain level of consciousness. Given that exact combination of factors, the choice you made was the only choice you could have made. If you could have done better, you would have. To believe otherwise is to assume that you willingly and knowingly chose to suffer, which is a fallacy. Self-compassion is the recognition of this fundamental truth. It is not weakness. It is not self-pity. It is the ultimate strength. It is the courage to look at your own imperfections, your own humanity, and to offer yourself the same kindness, the same understanding, the same grace that you would so readily offer to a beloved friend who came to you in their moment of suffering. Imagine a small child, full of life and joy, running freely across a field. In their exuberant abandon, they do not see a root sticking out of the ground. They trip and they fall, hard. They are stunned for a moment, and then their face crumples, and a raw, painful cry escapes as they look at their scraped, bleeding knee. Now, imagine two possible responses from the mother who is watching. The first mother, the critical mother, rushes over and says, "What were you thinking? I told you not to run so fast. Why are you always so clumsy? Look what you've done." This mother instills shame. The child learns not that falling is a part of running, but that they are inherently flawed for having fallen. The second mother, the compassionate mother, rushes over and scoops the crying child into her arms. She holds them close and says, "Oh, my sweet child, that was a big fall. I know it hurts. Let me see. It's okay. We will clean it up together. You are safe. I am here. This mother provides a safe harbor for the pain. The child learns that falling is not the end, that wounds can be healed, and that they are loved unconditionally, not in spite of their fall, but through it. For your entire life, you have been the critical mother to your own inner child. Every time you have fallen, every time you have made a mistake, you have scolded and shamed yourself. You are both the fallen child and the parent. It is time to stop scolding and start holding. It is time to become the compassionate mother for yourself. This is your practice. It is simple, it is profound, and it may be one of the hardest things you will ever do. Sometime today, find a moment to be alone. Stand in front of a mirror, not a quick glance to check your hair, but a real moment of connection. Take a deep breath and look, truly look, into your own eyes. Look past the surface, past the face you show the world. Look into the eyes that have witnessed every one of your struggles, every secret tear, every silent fear. Hold your own gaze. It may feel intensely uncomfortable. You may want to look away. Stay with it. Let your inner child, the one who is so used to being judged, be seen. After a moment, speaking softly but clearly, say these 3 things out loud. I forgive you. Let the words hang in the air. You did the best you could. Feel the truth in that, the immense relief of it. And finally, I love you. Say it, even if it feels foolish, even if a part of you rebels against it. Say it as a promise. This is not just an affirmation. It is a profound act of neurological reprogramming. You are consciously creating new neural pathways, interrupting the well-worn grooves of self-attack and carving a new path of self-acceptance. You are interrupting a lifetime of criticism with a single, radical act of love. Do this every day. It is the medicine your soul has been thirsting for. When you begin to practice this deep self-forgiveness, something miraculous happens. The immense energy that you are using to maintain the prison of self-judgment, the constant vigilance, the replaying of old tapes, the relentless inner criticism is suddenly liberated. It is as if a vast, cluttered, and haunted room within you is finally being cleared out. The ghosts of past mistakes are thanked for their lessons and allowed to rest. The furniture of guilt and shame is carried out into the light and seen for what it is, old, heavy, and no longer needed. A space begins to open up inside you, a clean, quiet, and fertile ground. This is the space where your true self has been buried. Beneath the rubble of your perceived failures, beneath the layers of the personality you constructed to protect your wounds, lies your essential nature. Now that the ground has been cleared, now that you are no longer at war with yourself, you finally have the space and the freedom to begin the sacred excavation. You can begin to discover who you are beyond the stories you've told yourself, beyond the identity of the one who was broken. You can begin to unearth the treasure that the collapse was always meant to reveal. You have stood in the sacred space of self-forgiveness, clearing the haunted ground of your own inner world. The energy once consumed by guilt and shame is now free. In this newfound silence, a question begins to echo. A question that was once too terrifying to ask. If I am not my past mistakes, and I am not the story of my wounds, then who am I? This question leads you to the very doorstep of what you call your personality, the collection of traits, habits, and beliefs that you have come to accept as yourself. And here, you are invited into an even more profound realization. Your personality is not who you are. It is the suit of armor you built to survive. It is a brilliant, intricate, and deeply intelligent defense mechanism constructed in your early years to protect the soft, vulnerable core of your true being. Think back. If you learned as a child that being quiet and agreeable kept you safe from criticism, you adopted the role of the quiet one, the introvert. If you discovered that being funny and entertaining earned you the love and attention you craved, you became the life of the party. If achieving and excelling was the only way to receive validation, you forged the identity of the high achiever. These were not conscious choices. They were survival strategies. Your personality is a masterful costume, a carefully curated script that allowed you to navigate the often confusing and sometimes threatening world of your childhood. The problem is not that you built this armor. The problem is that you have been wearing it for so long, you have forgotten you are not the armor. You have mistaken the mask for your own face. The collapse, this great shattering, is the moment the armor cracks under its own weight. It has become too heavy, too rigid, too small to contain the person you are expanding into. The fortress designed to keep you safe has become your prison. To begin to question this identity is to trigger a deep and unsettling internal conflict. There is an undeniable comfort in our familiar labels. To say, I'm just not a confrontational person, or I'm not good with numbers, or I'm an introvert, creates a predictable, manageable world. These labels provide a solid sense of self and give us permission to avoid situations that feel threatening or uncomfortable. They are the walls of our comfort zone. But your soul does not care for comfort. It cares for growth. It cares for truth. And your soul knows these labels are a cage. So the conflict begins. It is the tension between the safety of the known cage and the terrifying freedom of the open sky. To let go of the label introvert means you have no built-in excuse to avoid a new connection. To release the identity of not creative means you must face the vulnerability of making something that might not be perfect. The ego clings desperately to the bars of the cage, screaming, "It's safe in here. Out there you could fall. You could fail. You could be judged." But the soul stands at the open door, whispering of the vast, boundless expanse of your true potential. It is the choice between the definition that limits you and the emptiness that could become anything. Here is the core message that will set you free. You are not the personality. The personality is a tool you have used, not the truth of who you are. Beneath all the layers of conditioning, the character traits, the defense mechanisms, and the social masks, there is your true self, your core essence. This essence is not another, better personality. It is not a thing at all. It is a field of pure awareness, a silent, spacious, and unconditioned presence. It is the sky, and the personality is just the weather that passes through it. To truly grasp this, you must shift your entire understanding of identity. You are not a noun, you are a verb. A Nuna teacher, a mother, an artist, a failure, a successus, a fixed, static label. It is a photograph from the past. A verb is alive, dynamic, and forever in motion. Your true nature is not a static self, but the very process of being, of experiencing, of becoming. You are not the defined, you are the undefinable. This is not a loss of self. It is the discovery of a self so vast and so free that it cannot be captured by any word or concept. Imagine a magnificent marble statue, a masterpiece of divine art. This statue is your true self, in its original, luminous perfection. But early in life, an experience of fear causes a layer of gray paint to be slapped onto it. A family belief adds a coat of blue. A social expectation adds a layer of white. A deep hurt covers it in thick black tar. Over the years, hundreds of layers of paint beliefs, traumas, joys, failures are added, one on top of the other. Soon, the original form of the statue is completely obscured. It is now a lumpy, multicolored, and unrecognizable shape. And you, looking at this shape, believe that this is you. You identify with the lumpy, uneven surface of the paint. The sacred work of your life, the process of excavation, is not to try and paint a new, prettier picture on top of the old layers. It is to begin the patient, careful work of scraping the old paint off. It is messy, it is difficult, it requires courage. But with every small chip of old, dried paint that you flake away, every limiting belief you question, every old role you discard, you get a glimpse of the radiant, pure marble beneath. The collapse was the earthquake that cracked all the layers of paint, giving you the first opening, the first chance to begin this holy work of restoration, of remembering the masterpiece you have always been. This excavation is not just a mental exercise, It is a lived experience. Your practical work is to consciously act against the tyranny of your own labels. Take a moment and identify one of the primary labels you have attached to your personality. Are you shy? Are you serious? Are you unadventurous? Are you overly logical? Choose one. Now your task is to intentionally perform one small action this week that is completely out of character. If you have identified as shy, your task is to initiate a brief conversation with a cashier at the store. Ask them how their day is going, and truly listen to the answer. If you see yourself as relentlessly serious, your task is to find a silly video online and allow yourself a real deep belly laugh, or to tell a goofy joke to a friend. If you believe you are unadventurous, your task is to take a different route home from work, or to try a type of food you have never eaten before. The goal here is not to become a social butterfly or a comedian or a world traveler. The goal is to prove to your own nervous system that your labels are not laws. They are habits. Each time you act outside the box of your personality, you weaken the walls of the prison. You give yourself a taste of the exhilarating freedom of being undefined, of being pure potential. As you begin this process of chipping away at the layers of the false self, you start to connect with what lies beneath. You begin to touch the marble, and you discover that this core essence is not empty in a negative sense. It is not a void. It is emptiness pregnant with all possibility. It is the uncarved block of wood that could become any sculpture. It is the silent instrument that could play any melody. It is a direct connection to a source of infinite, raw potential. This energy, the energy of your true self, has a natural and undeniable impulse. It is the same impulse that causes a seed to sprout, a star to shine, and a galaxy to swirl into being. It is the impulse to create, to express, to grow, to bring new forms into the world. By discovering your core essence, you are not finding a final, static answer to the question, who am I? You are plugging into an eternal power source. You are connecting with the very spark of creation itself. You have begun the sacred excavation, chipping away the hardened layers of personality to reveal the luminous essence beneath. As you connect with this core self, you feel its energy, a quiet, potent, and limitless field of pure potential. This connection inevitably gives rise to one of life's most profound and often most agonizing questions: what is my purpose? Our culture has turned this question into a source of immense pressure. We are fed a myth that everyone has one great, singular life purpose, a grand calling that we are meant to find, like a hidden treasure. We are told to follow our passion as if it were a single, clearly marked destination on a map. This creates a frantic search, and for those of us who haven't found this one magnificent thing, it breeds a deep sense of uselessness and failure. After the collapse, when the roles and identities that once gave us a semblance of purpose have been stripped away, this feeling of being lost and purposeless can become a chasm of despair. This anxiety is fueled by the poison of comparison. You look at others who seem to have it all figured out. The doctor who knew from childhood she wanted to heal, the artist who has been painting since he could hold a brush, the activist whose life is a testament to a single, unwavering cause. Their paths appear as straight, clear lines, while yours feels like a tangled, meandering scribble in the margins. You see their apparent certainty, and it magnifies your own doubt. This external focus creates a desperate internal conflict. The ego, driven by this comparison, begins to shop for a purpose. It looks for a role that sounds impressive, a mission that will garner applause and validation. It tries to force your unique, complex spirit into a pre-approved, socially acceptable box. This frantic, outward search for a ready-made purpose clashes violently with the quiet, intuitive wisdom of your soul. Your soul knows that your path is not meant to look like anyone else's. It knows that your purpose is not a destination to be found, but a quality of being to be cultivated, a path that is revealed not in a grand vision, but step by single, present step. It is time to lay down the heavy burden of this search. It is time to embrace a new and liberating understanding of purpose. Here is the core message that will change everything. Your purpose is not a what. It is a how. Your sacred purpose is not a job title, a specific role, or a great achievement. Your sacred purpose is to bring the unique, luminous quality of your true self into every single thing that you do. It is about infusing your essence into the fabric of your life. It is not what you do, but how you do it. Your purpose can be lived just as fully while washing the dishes as it can while performing surgery. The question is, are you bringing presence to the task? Are you bringing your full, undivided attention to the warm water and the smooth surface of the plate? That is living your purpose. It is how you listen to a friend who is in pain. Are you truly hearing them, offering the silent, spacious presence of your awareness? Or are you just waiting for your turn to speak? To offer pure presence is to live your purpose. It is how you interact with the world. Your purpose is to be the vessel for your own light, and to allow that light to shine through your eyes, your hands, and your heart, regardless of the task at hand. You have been searching for a light at the end of a long tunnel, but your real purpose is to be the light right here, in whatever part of the tunnel you find yourself in today. Imagine a simple fire burning in a hearth. What is its purpose? The fire is not anxious about its status. It does not strive to become a bigger, more impressive bonfire or a destructive forest fire. It does not compare itself to the sun. The fire has only one innate purpose: to burn. And in the simple, authentic act of burning, it naturally and effortlessly fulfills all of its secondary functions. It radiates light, dispelling darkness. It provides warmth, offering comfort and safety. It transforms solid wood into heat and energy. Its purpose is not an achievement. It is the consequence of its own being. You are that fire. Your task is not to worry about how big or bright your fire is compared to others. Your task is not to force yourself to become a wildfire if you are meant to be a candle. Your sacred duty is simply to tend to your own inner flame, to be authentically what you are. By simply being, and by bringing the quality of your unique flame, be it the warmth of your compassion, the light of your wisdom, or the heat of your passion to everything you do, you are fulfilling your purpose completely. How then do you tend to this flame? How do you connect with this essence that you are meant to bring into the world? The practice is one of joyful investigation. You must become a detective of your own aliveness. Ask yourself these questions and listen for the answer not in your head, but in your body. What makes me feel most alive? What activities do I do where time seems to disappear? When do I feel most like myself, unburdened by the need to perform or pretend? Make a list of these things. Do not judge them. They may seem small, silly, or unproductive to your inner critic. Perhaps it is organizing a bookshelf. Perhaps it is digging in a garden. Perhaps it is solving a complex puzzle, having a deep conversation with a friend, walking in the rain, or playing an instrument, even if you play it badly. These activities are not your purpose. They are the kindling for your fire. They are the breadcrumbs of joy that lead you back to your own essence. Your practical task is to consciously and deliberately carve out more time for these things. This is not selfish indulgence. It is essential spiritual research. It is how you learn the unique language of your own soul. By prioritizing what makes you feel alive, you are feeding your inner fire, making its light stronger and its warmth more palpable, so that you have more of that essence to bring to all the other areas of your life. As you begin to live in this new way, infusing your purpose into the small moments, and nourishing yourself with the things that bring you alive, you will notice that your old methods of motivation no longer work. The fuel that drove the personality self was force. It was the shoulds and have-tos. It was the discipline born of fear, guilt, and the desire for external approval. But this harsh fuel is toxic to your true self. It will extinguish your delicate inner flame, To live a life of purpose, to consistently tend to this fire even on days when you feel tired or discouraged, requires a new kind of energy source. It demands a new form of commitment, one that is not rigid and unforgiving, but gentle, loving, and steadfast. It requires a discipline that is not an act of self-coercion, but the ultimate act of self-love. There is a word that lands with the weight of a stone in the modern mind: discipline. It feels cold, hard, unyielding. It conjures images of restriction, of forced marches, and joyless repetition. We have been taught to chase flow, to seek passion, to live in a state of spontaneous inspiration. We have come to believe that freedom is the absence of structure, the casting off of all restraint. And so, we run from discipline. We see it as the enemy of our liberation, the very antithesis of the ease we so desperately crave. But what if this understanding, this deep-seated aversion, is one of the most profound illusions we have accepted? What if the iron cage we fear is, in fact, the very key to the door we long to unlock? The internal conflict is a silent, daily war. It is the war between the person you are in this fleeting moment and the person you deeply aspire to become. The now self, conditioned for immediate comfort, whispers seductively. It says, "You are tired, you deserve a rest. The world is hard enough, why add to it with self-imposed rules? The pleasure of this moment is all that is real. Start tomorrow." This voice is a merchant of sweet poison. It offers the temporary relief of procrastination, the fleeting joy of indulgence. But the price is always paid, with interest, in the currency of future regret, anxiety, and a gnawing sense of self-betrayal. Across the battlefield stands the future self, the embodiment of your potential. This self does not scream. It does not promise instant gratification. Its voice is a quiet, steady hum beneath the noise of your immediate desires. It speaks of the deep, unshakable peace that comes from integrity. It speaks of the freedom that is not given, but earned, through conscious, repeated choice. To answer its call feels like a sacrifice in the moment. It feels like choosing the cold, clear water of resolve over the warm, sugary drink of avoidance. This is the friction that wears down the soul, this constant battle between what you want now and what you want most. Here lies the great turning point in your journey of rebirth. You must redefine the iron. True discipline is not born of self-hatred, but of profound self-love. It is not about forcing yourself into a shape that is not your own. It is the gentle, unwavering act of creating a container strong enough to hold the person you are becoming. It is the most potent form of love for your future self. Each time you choose the slightly harder right over the slightly easier wrong, you are sending a message through time. You are telling the person you will be tomorrow, next week, next year, "I care about you. I am building a foundation of peace for you. I am investing in your strength." Discipline is not punishment for who you were. It is preparation for who you are. It is the conscious decision to choose the clean, focused pain of growth over the dull, chronic ache of stagnation. One is an investment. The other is a tax on your very life force. You get to choose which one you pay. Consider the gardener. This is the perfect metaphor for the gentle iron of self-love. The gardener does not scream at the seed, commanding it to grow. They do not tear it from the earth to check its progress. They do not curse it for its apparent stillness. The gardener's discipline is expressed in their devotion to the environment. They rise at a consistent hour. They patiently till the soil, removing the rocks of old belief systems and the weeds of distracting thoughts. They provide water with unwavering regularity, not a flood one day and a drought the next, but a steady, nurturing presence. They ensure the fledgling plant has access to sunlight, turning it towards the source of its power. The growth of the seed is a natural consequence of this disciplined, loving environment. The gardener does not force the outcome. They create the conditions for the outcome to emerge organically. You are both the gardener and the garden. Your discipline is the act of tending to your own soul, of creating an internal environment where your true nature can finally, safely, blossom. It is not about forcing the flower to bloom, but about diligently weeding everything that would choke it. So, how do you begin to wield this gentle iron? You begin by making it laughably small. The old ego-driven discipline demanded massive, unsustainable change. I will meditate for an hour every day. I will write 10 pages. I will never eat sugar again. This approach is designed for failure, for it allows the ego to feel heroic in its ambition, and then justified in its collapse. The new discipline, the discipline of self-love, asks for almost nothing. It asks for 1 minute. Can you sit in silence for 60 seconds when you wake? Can you drink 1 glass of water before you reach for your phone? Can you write a single sentence in a journal? The task itself is irrelevant. The victory is not in the accomplishment, but in the act of keeping a promise to yourself. It is in this tiny, repeated act of integrity that you rebuild your sense of self-worth from the rubble. You are forging a new neural pathway, a pathway that says, "My word to myself is law. My commitment to myself is sacred." Consistency, not intensity, is the forge of true character. Each small act is a vote cast for the person you want to become. It is a quiet declaration to the universe that you are no longer available for a life of self-abandonment. You are not forcing a new reality. You are simply, gently, and consistently creating a new resonance, a new vibration of self-respect. This disciplined consistency begins to build an internal structure, a quiet strength that does not need to announce itself. It is a backbone of gentle iron, flexible yet unbreakable. It is the calm center from which you can now engage with the world, not from a place of neediness or reaction, but from a place of sovereign wholeness. This inner fortitude, forged in the quiet moments of loving commitment to yourself, is the prerequisite for the next great shift in your journey, the sacred re-evaluation of how your energy connects with others. You are now ready to redefine your relationships, not as a broken piece seeking to be whole, but as a whole person seeking to connect. As the gentle iron of self-love begins to solidify within you, as you consistently choose the small sacred act of self-respect over the fleeting comfort of self-abandonment, an unavoidable consequence occurs. The ground beneath your feet feels firmer, your inner axis more stable. But the landscape of your life, particularly the landscape of your relationships, begins to shift, sometimes seismically. The connections you once clung to for identity or comfort may start to feel dissonant, like a piece of music played in a key that no longer resonates with your own. A conversation that once felt normal now leaves you feeling strangely depleted. A dynamic that was once second nature now feels like a performance, the costume heavy and ill-fitting. This is not a sign that you are becoming cold or distant. It is a sign that you are finally becoming honest. The frequency of your being is changing, and like a finely tuned instrument, you can no longer harmonize with energies that are out of tune with your own. In the time before the collapse, most of our relationships were contracts negotiated by the ego. They were built on foundations of unspoken need. You sought out people who validated your sense of self, who reflected the image you wanted to project. Perhaps you bonded over shared complaints, finding a strange comfort in a collective narrative of victimhood. Perhaps you played a roly helper, the wise one, the entertainer, and you were drawn to those who needed your performance to feel complete themselves. These were relationships of utility, of convenience, of history. They were often built not on a foundation of soul recognition, but on the shifting sands of mutual insecurity. When your own internal structure fell, the foundations of these ego-based contracts crumbled with it. You no longer need the same validation, because you are learning to validate yourself. You no longer have the energy for the drama of complaint, because you are taking responsibility for your own energetic state. You are no longer willing to play a role, because you have touched the profound relief of simply being. And so, a space begins to open up. For many, this space feels like loneliness. It is a sharp, aching void where familiar voices used to be. The internal conflict here is immense and primal. On one side, there is the deep, instinctual fear of being alone, of being cast out from the tribe. This voice of fear speaks in the language of loyalty and obligation. It says, "But you have known them for so long. You cannot just abandon them." It is selfish to prioritize your own peace over their feelings. An uncomfortable connection is better than no connection at all. This voice will tempt you back into old patterns, encouraging you to shrink yourself once more to fit into boxes that you have spiritually outgrown. On the other side is the quiet, unwavering voice of your soul. It does not argue or plead. It simply states a truth. My energy is my most sacred resource. This connection depletes me. My authenticity is not negotiable. Choosing this voice feels like a betrayal of others, but it is, in fact, the ultimate act of loyalty to yourself. This perceived loneliness is not a punishment. It is a sacred liminal space. It is a holy emptiness, cleared by the universe to make room for what is truly meant for you. You must come to understand that every significant relationship in your life is a sacred contract. Each soul enters your orbit for a purpose, to facilitate a particular aspect of your growth. Some are contracts of catalysis. These souls are the sandpaper. They arrive to create friction, to challenge your ego, to trigger your deepest wounds, and to show you where you are not yet free. The interaction is often painful, difficult, and confusing. Their purpose is not to be your friend forever. Their purpose is to be the catalyst for your alchemy. To thank them for the lesson, bless them, and release the contract is an act of profound spiritual maturity. To cling to them after the lesson is learned is to willingly invite prolonged suffering. Other connections are contracts of companionship. These souls walk with you for a season, perhaps for many years. You share a path, you support one another, you grow alongside each other. But paths diverge. As you each evolve, the energetic resonance may fade, not out of malice, but as a natural part of the journey. Releasing these contracts with love and gratitude, honoring the part of the journey you shared, is essential. It is not an ending, but a graduation. Then, there are the contracts of communion. These are the rarest and most precious. These connections are not based on need, but on mutual recognition. There is a feeling of coming home, of being seen for who you truly are, beneath the layers of personality. These relationships energize you. They inspire you. They do not require you to be anything other than yourself. They are not built on a shared past, but on a shared presence. They are a safe harbor for the soul. After the great collapse, your sacred task is to become the sovereign steward of your energetic kingdom. You have the right and the responsibility to review your contracts. You must become discerning, not from a place of judgment, but from a place of radical self-honor. You are no longer auditioning for a role in someone else's life. You are casting the roles for your own. The central question shifts from "do they like me?" to "how do I feel in my own body when I am with them?" Imagine two trees planted in a field. If they are planted too close together, their roots become entangled and shallow, each fighting the other for water and nutrients. Their trunks grow twisted, leaning on each other for support, and their branches interlock in a desperate competition for sunlight. Neither can ever reach its full potential. They are locked in a state of codependent struggle. This is the model for so many ego-based relationships. Now, imagine two other trees planted with intentional space between them. Each one sends its roots deep into the earth, drawing its own sustenance, building its own unshakable core strength. Their trunks grow straight and tall, sovereign and independent, and at their highest reaches, their canopies may touch and interlace, creating a shared space of shade and beauty, a shelter for the life below. They are not leaning on each other for survival. They are two whole beings who choose to share the sky. This is the model for a relationship based on soul, communion. Your practice, then, is to become an impeccable observer of your own energy. This is not a mental exercise, it is a physical one. After you interact with a key person in your life, a phone call, a visit, even a text exchange, take a moment. Close your eyes. Do not analyze the conversation. Do not justify their behavior or your own. Instead, drop your awareness into your body. What is the physical sensation? Is there a sense of expansion in your chest, a feeling of lightness, of being energized? Or is there a subtle or perhaps obvious contraction? A tightness in your gut, a heaviness in your shoulders, a feeling of being drained, as if a plug has been pulled from your life force? Your body holds the unerring truth of the energetic exchange. It is your most reliable counselor. The mind will create 1,000 reasons to maintain a connection that is draining you. The body knows. Trust it. This is not a call to ruthlessly sever all ties. It is a call to begin a process of conscious, energetic reallocation. Gently, lovingly, begin to devote more of your time, your focus, and your precious presence to the connections that make you feel like those strong, sovereign trees. To those who see you, celebrate you, and inspire you to root deeper into your own truth. For the connections that drain you, you may not need a dramatic confrontation. Often, all that is required is a quiet withdrawal of your energetic investment. By ceasing to feed the dynamic with your attention, it will often naturally wither away. By creating this space, by honoring the sacred contracts of your life, you quiet the external noise. This deliberate curation of your relational world creates a profound inner silence, a stillness in which you can finally begin to hear a voice you have ignored for far too long, the unerring, intuitive whisper of your own soul. As the outer world begins to quiet down, as you consciously curate the energetic landscape of your life, a new frontier opens up. It is the vast, silent continent of your inner world. In this newfound stillness, a faculty you were taught to ignore, a sense more subtle than sight or sound, begins to awaken. It is a quiet knowing, a gentle nudge, a resonance in your cells that precedes thought. It is the voice of intuition. We have been meticulously trained to distrust this voice. From our earliest days, we were taught to worship at the altar of the rational mind. We were rewarded for logic, for data, for linear thinking, for proof. The language of feeling, of instinct, of the inexplicable gut sense, was dismissed as primitive, unreliable, or fanciful. We were taught to build our lives on the bedrock of what could be proven, measured, and explained. And so, we severed our connection to the most powerful guidance system we possess. The great collapse you endured was not a failure of your logic. It was the inevitable outcome of a life lived in defiance of your soul's whispers. It was the final, desperate scream of an intuition that had been ignored for far too long. The conflict between logic and intuition is the struggle between the machine and the ghost within it. The logical mind, the ego, is the announcer. Its voice is loud, insistent, and often frantic. It lives in a state of perpetual calculation, running endless pro and con lists, creating complex spreadsheets of potential futures based on the limited data of the past. It speaks in the language of what if. What if you fail? What if they judge you? What if you make the wrong choice? It demands certainty in a universe that is inherently uncertain. Its foundation is fear, the fear of the unknown, the fear of losing control. It shouts because it is fundamentally insecure. It knows, on some level, that it doesn't have all the answers, so it compensates with volume and complexity, hoping to drown out the silence where the real truth resides. Then there is the other voice, the voice in the wind, the voice of intuition. This voice is the whisper. It does not argue, debate, or try to convince you. It does not offer a 10-point plan. It simply states. It is a quiet, calm, neutral knowing. It feels less like a thought you generated and more like a truth you received. Its message is often incredibly simple. Don't get on that train, call that person, turn left here. This is not for you. There is no emotional charge to it, no panic. It is a clear single note in the cacophony of your mental chatter. Fear contracts the body. It creates tightness in the chest, a knot in the stomach. Intuition, even when it guides you towards a difficult action, feels different. It brings a subtle sense of rightness, of release, of clicking into place. The path it reveals may be harder, but the inner state it produces is one of peace. Your work is not to make the whisper shout. Your work is to quiet the announcer so the whisper can be heard. The core message you must integrate is this: intuition is the native language of your soul. It is the intelligence of the universe speaking directly through your unique form. Your logical mind is a powerful and necessary tool, but it is a tool, not the master. It is the ship's navigator, excellent at reading the charts and calculating the course. But intuition is the captain who feels the shift in the tides and sees the storm on the horizon long before it appears on any map. For years, you let the navigator steer the ship, and it steered you straight into the rocks because it could only operate on what was already known and charted. The collapse was the shipwreck that now forces you to finally listen to the captain. Reclaiming your intuition is about restoring the proper hierarchy. The intuitive knowing sets the destination. The logical mind works out the practical steps to get there. To trust your intuition is not to become irrational. It is to access a deeper, more holistic form of reason, an intelligence that encompasses far more data than your conscious mind ever could. Imagine you are in a large, crowded, noisy room. There are dozens of loud conversations happening at once. Music is blaring from speakers, and people are shouting to be heard. This is the normal state of the unobserved mind. Now, imagine that from a quiet, distant corner of that room, a single, exquisitely beautiful melody begins to play on a lone cello. To hear it, you cannot simply try harder to listen. Cupping your ear will not work. Shouting, "Be quiet," at the crowd will only add to the noise. The only way to perceive the melody is to consciously disengage from the loud, close conversations. You must willingly turn your attention away from the clamor of the ego and the shouting of fear. You must orient your entire being towards the source of that subtle sound. As you focus, the loud noises don't necessarily stop, but they fade into the background. The cello's melody becomes clearer, more distinct. It was there all along. Your attention was simply engaged elsewhere. This is the practice of listening to your intuition. It is a gentle, deliberate turning of your inner attention away from the noise and towards the signal. So, how do you practice this in a world that constantly demands your attention? You start by becoming a collector of whispers. Get a small notebook or use an application on your phone and title it Intuitive Hits or Whispers. The practice is simple. The very moment you have a gut feeling, a strange hunch, an inexplicable urge, or a random idea that seems to come from nowhere, you write it down. Do not analyze it. Do not judge it. Do not try to figure out what it means. Simply capture it. Had a sudden feeling I should not sign that contract today. Felt a strong urge to reach out to an old friend. The name of a book popped into my head. Write it down with the date, and then let it go. This is the act of catching the firefly. You are honoring the signal simply by acknowledging it. Over weeks and months, you can look back at this log. You will begin to see a stunning pattern. You will see how many times that little nudge was right. You will see the synchronicity that unfolded when you followed a strange urge. You are building a body of evidence, providing your own skeptical mind with the data it needs to begin to trust this other, deeper intelligence. You are learning the unique signature of your own intuitive voice. By engaging in this practice, you are doing more than just making better decisions. You are fundamentally altering your relationship with life. You are shifting from a state of anxious, controlling to a state of graceful collaboration with a force much larger than your individual mind. You are learning to dance with the unfolding mystery rather than trying to wrestle it into submission. This reconnection to your own inner guidance system, this willingness to listen to the voice in the wind, reveals a profound truth. The same intelligence that whispers within you is the same intelligence that orchestrates the unfurling of a fern, the migration of birds, and the turning of the planets. You are not separate from it. By learning to hear it inside, you begin to see it everywhere outside. You start to recognize that the entire natural world is a mirror, reflecting back to you the timeless lessons of this deep, intuitive wisdom. Once you begin to honor the intuitive whisper within, you start to perceive that you are not its sole recipient. You realize that this subtle language, this deep intelligence, is not confined to the boundaries of your skin. It is the very medium in which you exist. Yet, we have built a world designed to make us forget this. We live our lives in climate-controlled boxes, moving from home to car to office, our eyes fixed on glowing rectangles that feed us a constant stream of human drama and digital noise. We have insulated ourselves from the very source of our being. We treat nature as a backdrop for our recreation, a resource to be exploited, or an inconvenience to be paved over. We have forgotten that the earth is not something we live on. It is something we are a part of. This profound disconnection is a sickness of the soul, a deep and aching homesickness for a home we never truly left but have simply forgotten how to see. The internal conflict of modern humanity is the battle between the comfort of the artificial and the call of the real. Your ego loves the controlled environment. It loves the predictable temperatures, the absence of insects, the smooth, flat surfaces. In this manufactured world, the ego can maintain the illusion of being in control, separate and sovereign. But your soul, your ancient, primal self, remembers something else. It remembers the feeling of sun on the skin, the smell of damp earth after a rainstorm, the sound of wind moving through the leaves of a tall tree. It feels a deep, often inexplicable longing to connect with this reality. This is the call that pulls you to stare at a sunset, to walk by the ocean, to simply sit in a park and breathe. It is a pull that often feels illogical and unproductive to the conditioned mind, a distraction from the important tasks of our busy lives. Yet, ignoring this call is to ignore a vital part of yourself. It is to choose the sterile comfort of the cage over the wild, uncertain freedom of the world. When you finally answer this call, when you step back into the natural world with the intention not to use it but to listen to it, you discover it is the greatest teacher you could ever ask for. It is a living Bible of all the truths you need to remember. Above all, nature is the ultimate master of surrender, cycles, and rebirth. Look at a deciduous tree in autumn. As the light wanes and the air grows cold, the tree does not cling to its leaves in fear. It does not mourn the loss of its vibrant green identity. It gracefully, effortlessly lets them go. It understands that this shedding is necessary for survival. This is the lesson of letting go. Then comes winter, the great stillness. To the uninformed eye, the tree looks dead, barren, a monument to loss. But deep within its roots, unseen, life is consolidating its energy, resting, preparing. Your collapse, your period of burnout and emptiness, was your soul's winter. It was not an end. It was a necessary, sacred dormancy. The world may have seen you as unproductive or broken, but you were gathering strength in the dark. The tree does not fight the winter. It trusts the cycle. It embodies the faith that spring will, inevitably, return. It doesn't try to force a leaf to grow in a blizzard. It waits. It knows that rebirth is not an act of will, but a response to the changing conditions of life. The entire natural world is a gallery of metaphors for your own transformation. You are the seed. In its perfect, self-contained form, a seed holds infinite potential, but it can remain a seed for 100 years and do nothing. For its true destiny to be realized, its hard outer shell, the ego, the personality, the life you thought you had must crack open. It must be destroyed. The seed must cease to be a seed for the tender green shoot to emerge. Your breaking was not your destruction. It was your germination. You are the caterpillar. It crawls through its life, consuming, growing, doing what it knows. Then, an inner imperative drives it to hang upside down, to encase itself in a chrysalis. And inside that protective tomb, the most miraculous transformation occurs. The caterpillar does not simply grow wings, it dissolves. It completely disintegrates into a nutrient-rich, primordial soup. It becomes formless. Can you imagine the terror and the trust of that process? To let go of your form entirely, to become nothing, in the faith that you will reform into something else entirely. This soup is the crucible of your collapse, the void you feared. It is where the imaginal sells the blueprint for the butterfly dough their sacred work. You did not just get broken, you were dissolving in preparation for flight. On an even grander scale, you are the star. A massive star shines brilliantly for millions of years, a beacon of power and stability. But eventually, its inner fuel is spent, and it collapses under its own immense gravity. This collapse is one of the most violent and creative events in the universe's supernova. In that moment of total annihilation, the star forges all the heavier elements, the carbon that forms our bodies, the oxygen we breathe, the iron in our blood. It then scatters these precious, life-giving elements across the cosmos, seeding the birth of new stars, new planets, and new life. Your personal collapse, as devastating as it felt, was your supernova. It was the moment your old structure broke apart, creating the very raw materials needed to build a new, richer, more authentic world, not just for you, but for everyone you touch. The pain of your breaking was the birth pang of a new creation. Your practice, then, is one of radical purposelessness. Find a piece of nature, whether it is a vast forest or a single tree in a city park. Go to it with no agenda. Leave your headphones, your podcast, your fitness tracker behind. Your goal is not to get exercise, not to reach a destination, not to capture a perfect photograph. Your only goal is to be present. Walk slowly. Stop for no reason. Touch the rough bark of a tree. Pick up a fallen leaf and trace its intricate veins with your finger. Close your eyes and differentiate the layers of sound, the closest bird, the distant traffic, the whisper of wind. If you can, take off your shoes and stand on the bare earth. Feel the coolness, the texture, the solidness of the planet beneath you. Let go of the need to name, to categorize, to understand. Simply perceive. You are allowing the intelligence of nature to communicate with you directly through your senses, bypassing the noisy filter of your analytical mind. You are remembering, on a cellular level, that you are not just an observer of this world, you are an expression of it. As you spend more time in this state of being with nature, you begin to absorb its most fundamental lesson, the law of impeccable cause and effect. The tree lets go of its leaves in the fall, cause, and has the energy to survive the winter, effect. A seed is planted and watered, cause, and a flower grows, effect. The seasons do not argue with each other. They flow in a perfect, dependable sequence. This rhythm, this predictable unfolding of consequence from action, is a direct, physical manifestation of a universal law that governs not just the seasons, but your own life. You are witnessing the tangible, earthly evidence of karma. You are seeing that every action, every process, has a natural and unavoidable result, preparing you to take ultimate responsibility for the seeds you plant in your own existence. The word karma is heavy. It is shrouded in misunderstanding, often wielded as a threat or a promise of cosmic retribution. We have been taught to see it as the ledger book of a divine accountant, meticulously tracking our rights and wrongs, preparing to dispense rewards or punishments. But as you sat in the quiet presence of the natural world, you witnessed karma in its purest, most elegant form, stripped of all human dogma. You saw that the seed planted in the spring yields its fruit in the autumn. You saw that the river that relentlessly wears away the stone carves its own path. The tree that surrendered its leaves was not being punished with winter, nor was it being rewarded with spring. It was simply participating in a law, a truth as fundamental and impersonal as gravity. This is the true nature of karma. It is not a moral judge, it is a universal echo. The great misunderstanding of karma stems from the human ego's need to create a narrative of blame and victimhood. When faced with pain or difficulty, the ego's first impulse is to look outward and ask, "Why is this happening to me? Who has done this to me?" This question immediately places you in the role of a victim, a powerless subject upon whom external forces are acting. To believe in a punishing karma is to believe in an external agent, God, the universe, fate that is actively causing your suffering. While this may offer the temporary comfort of blamelessness, it is the most profound prison you can inhabit, for a victim has no power to change their circumstances. They can only endure, resent, and hope that the external punisher has mercy. This mindset keeps you chained to the past, endlessly reliving the story of your perceived injustices. The internal conflict you must now resolve is the war between the victim and the sovereign. The voice of the victim is loud and persuasive. It is the voice of resentment, blame, and helplessness. It says, "The world is unfair. I am unlucky. If only they hadn't done that, my life would be different." This voice keeps you small and trapped. But another voice has been growing within you, the quiet voice of the soul, the emerging sovereign. This voice does not ask, "Why is this happening to me?" It asks a far more powerful and transformative question. What is this experience revealing in me? Instead of looking for an external cause to blame, it looks for the internal pattern being exposed. It accepts the radical premise that your present reality is a reflection of the energy you have previously emitted. This is not self-blame. It is the ultimate act of self-empowerment. It is the realization that if your past energy created your present, then your present energy has the power to create your future. You must come to understand that karma is simply the law of cause and effect applied to energy and consciousness. It is a neutral, non-judgmental law of the universe. The energy you send out not just through your physical actions, but through your thoughts, your words, your intentions, and your feelings is a cause. That energy ripples out into the unified field of existence, and it will, without fail, create an echo that returns to you as an effect. If you throw a stone into a still pond, the ripples will eventually reach the shore and bounce back towards the center. The pond is not punishing you for throwing the stone. It is simply responding according to its nature. In the same way, the universe does not judge your energy as good or bad. It simply reflects it back to you. The key to this understanding is intention. An action performed out of love, generosity, and a desire for connection carries a high, coherent frequency. The echo it creates will be one of love, generosity, and connection. An action performed out of fear, lack, and a need to control carries a low, dissonant frequency. The echo it inevitably creates will be one of fear, lack, and control. Your collapse was not a punishment from the cosmos. It was the accumulated echo of a lifetime of dissonant intentions, a life lived out of alignment with your own soul. The echoes became so loud, so painful, that they shattered the structure that was creating them. It was a mercy, an intervention of echoes, forcing you to finally fall silent and examine the source of the sound. Imagine yourself as a gardener, standing on a plot of land which is your life. The universe provides the soil, the sun, and the reina, neutral, fertile field of potential. In your hands, you hold all manner of seeds. Seeds of kindness, seeds of resentment, seeds of patience, seeds of anger, seeds of gratitude, seeds of fear. The universe has no opinion on which seeds you choose to plant. It does not judge the thorn seed as evil or the apple seed as good. Its only role is to nurture whatever you place in the ground. If you spend your days carelessly scattering seeds of judgment and complaint, You cannot stand shocked and outraged months later when your life is a field of thorns and weeds. You cannot cry out to the heavens, "Why am I being punished with this painful harvest?" The harvest is not a punishment. It is the simple, direct, and impersonal result of your planting. The only sane, empowered response is to look at the thorns, acknowledge the seeds you planted to create them, and then, with newfound awareness, to begin consciously choosing to plant different seeds. Your practical application of this law, therefore, is to become a conscious sower. It begins with the sacred pause. Before you speak, before you act, before you allow a powerful thought pattern to take root, create a space of stillness. In that space, ask yourself a simple question, not with your mind, but with your body and your feeling sense. What is the intention behind this? Is this impulse being born from a place of love or a place of fear? Love, in this context, means expansion, connection, trust, and wholeness. Fear means contraction, separation, lack, and control. Does the thought you are about to express create expansion or contraction in your chest? Does the action you are about to take feel rooted in trust or in a desperate need to manage an outcome? You do not need a complex analysis. Your body, your intuitive compass, knows the answer instantly. The goal at first is not to be perfect. The goal is simply to become aware. This awareness itself is a transformative act. You are bringing the light of consciousness to your unconscious sowings. You are no longer a sleepwalking gardener, scattering seeds at random. You are awakening to your role. By embracing this neutral law of karma, you are performing the most profound act of liberation. You are officially resigning from the role of the victim. You are taking the pen back from the hand of fate and accepting that you are the author of your own story. You understand that while you cannot change the echoes of the seeds you planted yesterday, you have absolute power over the seeds you are planting in this very moment. The past no longer holds you hostage. You are no longer a passive pawn in a game you don't understand. You are stepping fully into the power and responsibility of your own creative capacity. You are realizing that the rubble of your old life is not a prison yard, but a cleared plot of land. And you, having learned the immutable law of the harvest, are now ready to pick up your tools and begin designing a new structure, not as a victim of circumstance, but as the sovereign architect of your reality. And so you stand here, in the quiet aftermath. The inner storms have passed. The work of forgiveness is underway. You have looked into the mirror of nature and learned its rhythms. You have taken radical responsibility for the echoes of your past. And what is left? A profound, vibrating emptiness, a void. For the part of you still conditioned by the old world, this void is terrifying. It is the absence of familiar landmarks, the silence where the clamor of ambition and anxiety used to be. It is a blank page, and the ego, the old architect, abhors a vacuum. It fears that without a structure to define you, you will simply cease to be. But for the part of you that has awakened, this void is not empty. It is pregnant with pure potential. It is not an absence, but a presence, the presence of infinite possibility. It is the holy ground upon which you will now build a new world. The first temptation you will face on this holy ground is the ghost of the old blueprints. Your mind, a creature of habit, will try to sell you on the comfort of the familiar. It will whisper, "Rebuild the old fortress." It may have been a prison, but at least you knew the layout. At least you knew where the walls were. This is the seductive call of the known misery over the unknown freedom. A powerful fear may arise, the fear of repetition. What if I try to build something new and just end up with the same faulty design? What if all this work was for nothing and I am doomed to repeat my mistakes? This fear can be paralyzing. It can tempt you to leave the land vacant, to live amongst the memory of the rubble, too afraid to lay a single new stone. You must see this temptation for what it is, the ego's last-ditch effort to reclaim control, to pull you back into a predictable pattern, even if that pattern is one of suffering. The internal conflict is between the old architect of fear and the new, sovereign architect of your soul. The old architect wants to build a fortress. Its primary motivation is protection. It wants high walls to keep out perceived threats, small windows to prevent anyone from seeing your vulnerability, and a heavy, bolted door. It builds with the materials it knows best: bricks of fear, mortar of other people's opinions, and a foundation of conditional self-worth. It builds a life designed to impress and to defend. But the sovereign architect, the awakened you, has no interest in building another fortress. Its primary motivation is expression. It seeks to build a sanctuary, a structure that is not designed to keep the world out, but to welcome your own soul in. It wants vast windows to let the light in and out, foundations rooted in deep self-acceptance, and a door that swings open with love. It understands that true safety does not come from walls, but from having no walls left to defend. Here is the most crucial truth you must grasp. The collapse did not take anything from you that was real. It was a controlled demolition of a condemned building. All it took was the facade, the borrowed beliefs, the roles you were playing, the expectations you were trying to meet, the anxieties you carried like heavy furniture. It did not touch the land. It did not touch the sky. It did not touch the occupant. You, the awareness that witnessed the entire collapse, were never in danger. You have not lost anything. You have only gained clarity, and you have gained access to an entirely new set of building materials. You will not build this new life with the compromised materials of the past. Your new foundation is the unshakable ground of self-compassion you cultivated in your darkest hours. Your walls are made not of brick, but of integrity, the commitment to align your actions with your deepest values. Your windows are made of clear perception, washed clean of judgment. Your roof is not a lid, but a canopy of trust in the unfolding of life. And the light that will illuminate this new home is the spark of purpose you rediscovered within. Imagine the land where your old house stood. For years, you tried to renovate it. You patched the leaky roof of a toxic relationship. You repainted the cracked walls of a meaningless job. You tried to fix the faulty wiring of your own negative thought patterns, but the foundation was cracked. No amount of cosmetic repair could save it. The collapse was the demolition crew finally clearing the site. The rubble has been hauled away. The ground is level. The sun is now shining on a plot of land that you can see clearly for the first time. The old house had a specific footprint, a predetermined layout. You were always limited by its original, flawed design. But now, there are no limits. You are free. You can build a Japanese temple with a tranquil garden for contemplation. You can build a soaring cathedral of glass, open to the cosmos. You can build a humble, sturdy cottage with a hearth that warms all who enter. The design is not dictated by what was there before, but by who you are, right now, standing on this clear, open ground. So how do you begin? You begin by drawing the blueprint. This is your practical task. Take a clean sheet of paper or open a new document and title it My Sovereign Manifesto, or The Blueprint for My Sanctuary. This is not a list of goals. You are not writing earn more money or find a new partner. You are defining the architectural principles, the energetic signature of your new existence. Ask yourself these questions and write down the answers that arise from the quietest part of you. First, what are my 3 most essential, non-negotiable core values? Examples: peace, freedom, authenticity, connection, creativity. These are your load-bearing walls. Second, how do I want to feel in my body and spirit on a daily basis? Examples: grounded, expansive, joyful, calm, inspired. This is the interior design, the atmosphere of your home. Third, what will I no longer compromise on? Examples: my self-respect, my inner peace, my physical health. These are the boundaries of your property. Fourth, what is the primary purpose of this new structure? Examples: to be a sanctuary for my own spirit, to be a beacon of light for others, to be a space for creativity and growth. This is the dedication plaque above the door. This manifesto is not a rigid set of rules. It is your North Star. It is the master blueprint against which you will measure all future choices. When an opportunity arises, you will hold it up to your manifesto and ask, does this align with my core values? Does this support the feeling, state I am cultivating? Does this honor my non-negotiables? The answer will be a clear, intuitive yes or no. You are no longer making decisions based on fear or external pressure. You are making decisions based on your own sacred design. This is not the end of a journey. This is the beginning of a new way of living, where you are not a resident in a life someone else built for you, but the master architect of a life that is a true and beautiful expression of your own soul. And this structure you are building is not a static monument. It is a living, breathing space designed to grow and evolve as you do, which leads to the final, ultimate liberation. The blueprint is drawn, the foundation is set. The sovereign architect has designed a sanctuary for the soul, a life built not from the rubble of the past, but from the clear potential of the present. But a structure, no matter how beautifully designed, is still just a container. The final liberation is not found in the perfection of the container, but in the quality of the life that is lived within it. The journey has taken you from the deafening silence of the rubble to the empowered quiet of the architect's studio. And now, it asks you to take the final step, the step from building a life to simply living it. This is the shift from the heroic act of becoming to the graceful art of being. Our entire society is built upon an addiction to arriving. We are conditioned from birth to believe that peace, joy, and fulfillment are destinations that lie at the end of a long and arduous road of effort. We believe we will be happy when we get the degree, when we find the partner, when we secure the promotion, when we retire. We even turn our spiritual path into another form of striving, believing we will be at peace when we have mastered meditation, when we are fully healed, when we achieve enlightenment. Our lives become a perpetual state of not yet-ness. Our inner peace held hostage by a future that never arrives. The collapse shattered this illusion for you. It was the great train derailment that proved the destination you were racing towards was a mirage. The most insidious trap now, as you stand in your newly designed life, is to turn this new life into another set of goals. The ego, the striver, will try to reassert itself. It will look at your new values of peace and authenticity and try to turn them into achievements to be conquered. You must become aware of the final internal conflict, the battle between the striver and the dancer. The striver is the part of you that lives by the to-do list and the 5-year plan. It wakes up every morning and asks, what must I accomplish today to prove my worth? It sees life as a series of problems to solve, mountains to climb, and deficiencies to correct. It is restless, perpetually dissatisfied, and its energy is one of constant, forward-leaning tension. Even in moments of peace, the striver is already planning the next objective, unable to simply inhabit the stillness. Its deepest fear is that if it stops striving, it will cease to exist. But the awakened part of you is a dancer. The dancer does not wake up and ask what it must accomplish. It wakes up and listens for the music of the day. It does not see life as a problem, but as a rhythm. Its joy is not in reaching the final note of the song, but in the ecstasy of the movement itself. It responds to what is with grace, spontaneity, and creativity. It lives in a state of dynamic flow, not rigid control. The ultimate, liberating truth is this: you are not a person on the bank of the river of life, trying to chart its course or struggling to get to the other side. You are the river. Your purpose is not to reach the ocean. Your purpose is to flow. The struggle, the anxiety, the suffering you experienced for so long was the feeling of trying to swim upstream, of building dams of control, of resisting your own current. Peace, joy, and fulfillment are not destinations you must paddle towards. They are the natural consequence of ceasing your resistance. They are the feeling of the water moving effortlessly along its path. The river does not worry about the rocks ahead. It simply flows around them. It does not lament the narrow canyon or boast about the open valley. It simply fills the shape it is given. To embrace this is to understand that there is nowhere to get to. There is nothing to achieve. You are already whole. You are already complete, and you are already here. This moment, this breath, this unfolding reality is it. This is the destination you were searching for all along. Imagine a master dancer on a stage. When they first began, they were a striver. Their mind was loud, filled with instructions. 1, 2, 3. Now turn. Extend the arm. Keep your posture straight. Their movements were technically correct, perhaps, but they were mechanical, lacking grace, lacking soul. They were doing a dance. But through years of practice and surrender, a shift occurs. Now, when the music begins, their mind is silent. They are no longer thinking about the steps. They have become one with the music. The music flows into them and through them, and their body responds with an intelligence that bypasses thought. They are no longer a person doing a dance. The dancer, the dance, and the music are a single, unified expression of life. This is the liberation of being. It is the state where you cease trying to manage your life, and instead allow life to live through you. You have practiced your scales. You have learned the principles. You have built the sanctuary. Now, the invitation is to simply dance. Your final practice is the most simple and the most profound. It is the practice of radical acceptance. For one day or even just 1 hour, make the commitment that your first internal response to everything that occurs will be a silent, unconditional yes. This does not mean passive resignation. It is not saying, yes, I approve of this to a harmful or unjust situation. It is a yes to the reality of what is. A traffic jam begins. The mind's immediate reaction is resistance. No, this shouldn't be happening. This is going to make me late. The radical practice is to meet it with, yes, this is what is happening now. A traffic jam is occurring. A feeling of sadness arises. The mind resists. No, I don't want to feel this. I should be happy. The practice is, yes, sadness is moving through me now. This simple, powerful yes instantly ends the inner war. It is the act of dropping your resistance to the flow of the river. It is in the space that this acceptance creates that wisdom can arise. When you are no longer fighting reality, you are free to respond to it with clarity, creativity, and grace. You cannot navigate a river you are pretending does not exist. The yes is the acknowledgement that allows you to steer. This is the freedom your collapse offered you. It was a violent, painful, and merciful breaking of your resistance to the flow of your own life. You were trying to be the dam, and life showed you that you are the river. You were trying to be the dancer, and life showed you that you are the dance. This is not an endpoint. There is no final state of perfection to be maintained. There is only the continuous, moment-to-moment choice to surrender to the music, to trust the unfolding, to say yes to the ever-changing, unpredictable, and breathtakingly beautiful flow of being. The struggle is over. Now, simply live. We began this journey together with a question, standing in the trembling ruins of a life that was no longer yours. What happens when the structures you have meticulously built, the very walls of the fortress you call I, begin to crack and fall from within? Now, at the end of this path, we return to that same site, but we no longer see it with the same eyes. The dust has settled. The silence is no longer deafening, but deep and resonant. Look again at the rubble. You once saw it as evidence of your failure, the tombstone of your hopes, but now you see it for what it truly is. These are not the ruins of your life. They are the foundation stones of your temple. Each broken piece of your past, each shard of a shattered belief, each stone of painful experience has been used, not to rebuild the same fortress, but to lay the foundation for a new structurian, invisible sanctuary of inner awareness, a temple not made of stone or wood, but of pure presence. This sacred space within you is indestructible, because it is not a thing you have built, but the truth of who you have always been. Do not be mistaken. This journey was not an ordeal you merely survived. The collapse was not a punishment you endured. It was a grace, a severe mercy, a divine intervention orchestrated by your own soul to call you back from the exile of a life that was too small for you. The universe did not break you. It broke open the cage you had mistaken for a home. The pain of that breaking, the profound ache of that dissolution, was not the pain of death. It was the pain of your own birth into a larger reality, into a more authentic self. You had to fall apart so that you could be put back together, not as you were, but as you are. For so long you sought a light to guide you through the darkness. You searched for it in others, in achievements, in philosophies. But the final revelation of this journey is the simplest one. You are the light you were looking for. The light was never extinguished. It was only obscured. The collapse, in its devastating wisdom, did not put out the flame. It simply shattered the lantern that was hiding it, the lantern of your personality, your history, your ego. The breaking was not your end. It was your beginning. Now, live.